Folks, we're getting ready to kick off the meeting, please. If everybody would have their seat. It is 6 o'clock. I'll now call this meeting into session. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by our Cub Scouts here. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. If you'll all please rise.
Hey, Esther, get a picture of this crowd.
Hello, my name is Benton. I'm in Pack 118, and can you please stand up and join me to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, my name is Drew Potts. I'm from Pack 118. Please stand and join me for the Texas Pledge. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
And please join me in the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for these moments for us to gather here. I pray that this day may your grace cover this meeting, and we pray that all voices be heard, and this is a safe place for people to express their opinions. Please help and guide our community leaders in the decisions they make. Amen.
I love that stuff.
That's great. Grandson, yeah. That's cute.
Sign in.
So much, gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's a good crowd. So I hope nobody has tomatoes to throw at us. So as long as you don't do that, we're good. As normal, this is an opportunity for members of the public to suggest the addition of topics for discussion or to address topics of interest, with the presentation limited to 3 minutes. All speakers will conduct themselves in an orderly and lawful manner. All speakers will be recognized prior to speaking and will announce their name and address to be included in the minutes. State law prohibits the mayor or members of council from commenting on any statement or engaging in dialogue without appropriate agenda item being posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Law. Okay? We do have some people signed up to make some comments, and we'll start at the top. Norm? There you are. Norm's back. Everybody,
For now.
name and address, please.
Norm Sinkle, 41 Oakmont Circle. First of all, if you have that camera cocked a little bit this way, they can see me. Otherwise, the speaker.
We will get that corrected.
Okay. I'll go as fast as I can. I got a lot of little items here that are kind of trivial. After I left the last council meeting a little bit early, I saw a small girl pushed by a larger girl on the zip lines that are out here. And there's a problem with that because it doesn't kill, but the sudden stops will. She did that. She accelerated very well. But came to a quick stop and fell off the thing and hit the ground kind of hard. There were 4 other people there with her, so I did not go over at that time. It was about halfway through the meeting. So in looking at the thing, it appeared to me like you've got a really neat item there, but it needs something like a rebound, or without a rebound spring, because it tends to ragdoll whoever's on there if they're a small kid and get going too fast. warning signs won't do it. Braking area might do that, just something to mitigate the rebound or even removal if that's warranted. I'm not sure if she was seriously hurt, but she was not happy. Along the lines of safety too, the marina upper steps are a safety item. Of course, you've got tapes across those so people can't go up the thing. And I observed a lot of people having to fight the flow of traffic to go up to the restrooms on July the 2nd. So that becomes a kind of a safety issue with going around as opposed to going up that thing, with traffic going in dual directions along that thing. The signage that says do not enter is kind of nice. Maybe it needs to be a little more aggressive, like a stop sign, do not enter, or do not enter, damn it. Okay, you got Blanders. Comes to the marina walkway. There is a lack of handrail on the very top of it, and a person has to step onto the top of the ramp where it's already going down before they can reach that handrail. I've seen a lot of people on there, especially if they're carrying loads, get very unsteady at the top, and that's what cost me 6 days in an ICU from hitting that last February. So extension of that rail, even if it's articulating of some sort, would be very helpful. I realize the lake is down, but it would make it a lot more safe. Let's see, slope. After a month to evaluate the Frisbee golf proposal, I see previous unmentioned problems. One would be ongoing maintenance and trash collection, which is not an issue if the NPR maintenance staff is overstaffed. Police patrol for noise and safety issues, again, not an issue if MPD is overstaffed. Rescues of people falling down the steep shoreline or into the water going after Frisbees, especially if you have kids back there and stuff, that's a worrisome thing. And there are rattlesnakes over there, so I've seen them. And then you might have to go and, well, that wouldn't be an issue either because I'm sure the fire department's overstaffed. How long until a curfew would be needed? And again, if PD is overstaffed, they can enforce that. Going back to the restrooms, would we eventually get to the point where they're locked off hours? And people traffic on an increase means that the use is going to be increased, and are those on a septic system? If they are, that may create a problem. The alternative, I counted about 70 trailers, like I brought up last month, parked above the marina, and using Frisbee math, that's about 25,500 uses per year. For a lot less than 10,000, we could expand that 50-year amenity to 100 places. But if we worked out a $10 a month tacked on to the bill in the marina, then that would bring in $1,000 a month, which could be used for some of the marina safety upkeep, new cabinets, shoreline erosion abatement before it turns into a real problem, because it's eating out already. Better stop it now if possible. Or we can throw disregard this stuff and just deal with it when you have to. I hope it wasn't over 3 minutes. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
I can go home now.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Norm.
Glad to have you back. Denise, oh, there you are. Didn't see you there behind Mr. Hartman.
My name is Denise Seibert, 114 Great Woods West Loop. I wanted to thank you to all who organized and worked for the 4th of July celebration. I know you call it something else. The fireworks were great. I saw a larger crowd. I saw trucks, and I also saw the announcement on the news about it, so that worked out really good. Did, like him, have some suggestions. When people were leaving, the trash was stacking. So if we could get like 4 or 6 more cans around, and maybe they got those wonderful hand wash stations at the toilets now, because they were right across from eating food. And then like more drink vendors. And then there was glass. One of the vendors, the Mexican truck, had glass soda. And I don't know if we want glass around containers. So, and I did see alcohol coming in. I don't know how we can stop that. I don't know if that was allowed. But otherwise, I thought it went really great. I liked the fire department being there. We did have somebody that did take a fall, and they were right there helping. Police directing traffic. There was a lot of cars here. I think everything went really smooth, leaving and everything. I was really glad about it, and the fireworks, like I said, were really great, and I just thought it went so good. So thank you all again. A few suggestions so that we can make it a little easier for people, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Larry?
Larry Hartman, 112 Great West Loop. And the stairs that Norm had mentioned, I guess there was a accident or a murder or something that had the police tape that's around it. Are they damaged or what? I just noticed it the other day. Are they damaged or what damage? I don't know who's going to fix them or when they're going to be fixed, but something to think about.
Yeah.
Years ago, if memory serves me correctly, there was a Boy Scout that needed to earn an Eagle badge that actually did those stairs back years ago. So if that's an option, I don't know, Dalton, if you have any contact with any Boy Scouts, if there's a project, if that would go in with helping, just some, an idea to think about. The other thing I had is tonight we had the workshop. And I know this is new. This is the second time we've done the workshop before the council meeting. The problem is you had a big item there, and you had another item, review city fiscal draft on the strategic work plan. We never talked about that. So I don't know, are you going to talk about it next meeting, or we just forget about it? Because I know it's on the agenda. I think you just need to review the timing of workshops that, because sometimes.
Well, before we'd ever had the workshop before the meeting anyway, so
Right.
this is just to help the council review what they should have already been looking at for last week, so.
Well, and you have citizens that may have comments, because every workshop I've ever been into for years, they include the citizens'
You made
comments
comment.
to help.
You made comment, and we.
I did. No, what I'm saying is there may be other citizens
Yeah.
that would
They're
ran out of
welcome.
time.
Yeah,
Ran
they're
out of
welcome to
time,
it, right.
so.
We're gonna extend it. We decided we're gonna extend it to 4:30.
Anyway,
So we give
think
60
about
or 30
that and
minutes.
see about,
Yeah, appreciate
time
it.
management for each one. It might help. Thank you.
Bruce, I saw you in there earlier. Are you still, oh, there you are.
Bruce Linhart, number 9 White Earp. Yeah, I want to also say the fireworks were absolutely spectacular. It's a great show. Appreciate the fire department being on standby for that with the dry conditions that we have. And thankfully there was no fires that lit up. Also, I just want to say thank you to the council for the great job y'all did last month. I know it was quite an agenda, and everybody did a fantastic job of holding in there and making good decisions. And I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you, sir. Donna?
Donna Hartman, 112 Great West Loop. First, I hope this doesn't count as my 3 minutes, but looking at the weight limit on the zip line, I did have to do the zip line. You know that. So I went zipping along. It was so much fun till I got to the end, and Norm is right. There's a kickback. I fell off, didn't hurt myself, and felt really good about it till I looked around and saw Dalton Rice sitting at the playground laughing. So other than being humiliated, but it does. And you know what, Dalton, you've never told a soul, have you?
Well, I didn't have to.
What am I thinking to get up here and do this? I can't believe I just did that. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and Bruce and I are on the same path, and maybe as former council people it hit us, but I wanted to tell y'all, this council did a Herculean job at that last meeting. I'm so proud of you. You took it, you took everything into consideration, you made decisions, you tabled what you weren't ready for. It was an arduous and long, tedious agenda, one the likes of I've maybe seen once in 33 years. So I want to applaud you for what a great job y'all did. I appreciate that so much. The other thing is I wanted to talk just really briefly. I'm for staggered terms, but I've been trying to look for information on it. I've even put a note into Hugh Shine that was going to get back, and he's been looking into things. there's not a whole lot of information right now out. So just saying, if you need to pause till we get some more information on to see when you have to enact it, but definitely I do support the staggered terms, always have. Okay, the other thing is on the four corners, that where Larry talks about the roundabout. Okay, I just wanted to say we have been very proactive. When the high school, before the high school was even built, we had a committee that consisted of our former mayor, Gossett, our former chief of police, Klein, also our city manager, David Huseman, and I set up a meeting before the school was ever built. We went over there, we talked about staggering hours, we talked about traffic flow. We've been very proactive with traffic and safety for our residents and our kids. So I want to continue that. That Four Corners may not be a roundabout, but I want you to be very open. It's not our street. We're not funding it, but I want you to be very open. The Central Texas Council of Governments, I understand, is saying, hey, we will help you with this. It may be we do four-way stops, it may be something else, but please be open to getting that help because they're not charging us, and we're going to go to the experts to see what can be done. So just wanted to open you up. We've been proactive. We were proactive with the sidewalks. Even before Dalton got here, they talked about the safe sidewalks, and they didn't open that grant up till just a while ago. Dalton jumped on it, so I'm really happy that he did. The traffic. Anyway, we've been proactive, council, so let's continue that. And okay, we did the tour corners, we did that. Okay, I guess that's all I have. And forget, everybody swear you do not tell the story about the zip line, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Zip Donna.
Did you get a picture of that?
And Lynn? No? Okay. Then we're just gonna move on with the agenda, and Darren, you wanna start it off? Let's go ahead and do yours. You want to go ahead? We'll move you up.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Okay, so Karen Stagner, One Ash Court, president of the Ladies Auxiliary. And here I am again, nervous again. Like I said last month, being nervous just shows that you really care about what you're about to say. And I really do care the fact that our auxiliary decided to give 2 scholarships this year instead of 1. So to the mayor, city council, city administration, and our neighbors, thank you again for the opportunity and the audience as we present our second place scholarship for the year. For those who weren't here last year, I'm going to run through the history background. Last month, the Morgan's Point Resort Ladies Auxiliary has sponsored an education scholarship since the early 1900s, which was originally a $500 Miss Flame scholarship that we split with our volunteer firefighters. In 2017, the auxiliary members voted to take on the full amount of the scholarship and increase the scholarship to $1,000 a year. Ms. Flame would represent the auxiliary and the Morgan's Point Resort Fire Department as our sweetheart at community events and parades. During 2021, the Ladies Auxiliary redesigned the scholarship program and renamed it to Flame of Knowledge. As provided in our bylaws and constitution, the Ladies Auxiliary awards a $1,000 scholarship check to a graduating senior or GED student who plans to pursue vocational training, associate or baccalaureate degree toward a career in public service. So tonight, I want to welcome our parents, Kenneth and Kim Goldman. And I want to thank Mary Shockley and her committee, Judy Garrett and Rebecca Hutton, and all of our auxiliary ladies. Did I say Judy Dillon? Oh, Judy Dillon, sorry. Wrong Judy. She is a neighbor. So at this point, we'd like to invite Kinsey Goldman to the podium to receive her scholarship and say a word about herself and her future plans. And after our presentation, if you will excuse us, we will go outside and take pictures so we don't use your additional council meeting time.
Hi, I'm Kinsey Goldman, and I have lived here my whole life. And some things I do throughout the community is dog sit and babysit, and also work at my parents' restaurant, Crawfish Express. And I want to thank y'all and y'all's generosity and kindness for funding me this scholarship because it will help me financially. And I plan on using the scholarship to major in nursing at Angelo State University. Yes.
Good, you.
Aaron Vassaw, 6 Lake Forest Drive. Oh, about a third of the week, anyway. Yeah. So welcome, and I know we're a little bit of a time constraint. We're going to do a full award ceremony in December as our tradition. But we've gotten to a point with our department where we have a few folks that have been in the shoe for promotion and had a few loose things to do. And it's time to get these guys out in operations. And so I want to bring them up, and we'll bring them up individually. We're going to do the oath of office as a group at the end, and our city secretary will be doing that. So I'll bring you up for that at the end. This will go like a wedding. I mean, things are going to get perfect. But the first person I want to bring up is a firefighter, Jose Reyes-Rios. Come on up, Jose. I want to just say there's two types of folks, which are broad categories, that come to Morgan's Point to serve in this fire department. We have some folks that come with no certification whatsoever. They've got a dream. They've got a hope. They want to serve the community. We have the tools. We have the ability. We have the training. We have everything you guys equip us with to help them be prepared to become firefighters. And you're going to see some of that play out tonight. The other group of people that come because you have an outstanding fire department. It's not because you're fire chief. It's part of it. But you've got a really good city council. You've got really good city government. We've got great PD we work with. I mean, it is fun to work for this department. We have folks that come from this department that, believe it or not, spend 56 hours or more a week at another fire department working there full time, but they know what it's like to come up here. They know the training, the exposure they're going to get. And one of these individuals who's with us tonight is Jose Reyes-Rios, who came to us as a minted firefighter paramedic from the city of Copperas Cove, is still with the city of Copperas Cove, but spends 20 hours or so a week with our community serving us as a firefighter paramedic. So thank you, Jose, for that. Also, and one thing these guys all share in common, Jose was with the United States Army. We'll have two other veterans tonight from the United States Army and Navy. Some of this is by virtue of being by Fort Hood. Some of this is just, we've got a good, I can't say the word I want to say in mixed company. We got a pretty good rocking department, and we're fun to work with, and we do a lot of physical stuff too. So I will read his verbatim. This is an entry-level class, and for him, truly not, in the suppression series, fully qualified for task-level assignments on the fire ground, in addition to performing all other emergency response duties. That includes being a paramedic in the community. Incumbents are expected to possess the requisite knowledge, psychomotor skills, and physical ability to safely perform the duties assigned to them. I attest that I've reviewed the professional development pathway of Jose Reyes-Rios, his general service record as a probationary firefighter, and yes, we did make him go through probation just like everybody else. And his character. His performance in each requisite competency and skill for this promotion meets or exceeds the standards set forth by the Morgan's Point Resort Fire Rescue Training Division and the Office of the Fire Chief. It is that, with such great pleasure, that I grant the promotion from the rank of probationary firefighter to the rank of firefighter paramedic to Jose Reyes-Rios on this, the 11th day of July, 2023. This is the part that never goes well. All right. Jose, why don't you go ahead and stay up with us? Chief Sibley, if you'll go ahead and bring up the remaining items. So, thank you. I could have firefighter Noel Shaver and firefighter Charles Maines come up. The group of other folks that come without any experience. Firefighter Noel Shaver came to us from the United States Navy where he was in a submarine. If you talk to him long enough, you'll figure that out. Firefighter Charles Maines came to us directly out of the United States Army and was a medic with the United States Army and has been great with our AMS division. They have worked through a process together, neck and neck, arm in arm, throughout the last 2 years they've been here. They will be the 7th and 8th promotion to the rank of fire specialist that we've had in the history of this department. We have 3 of our other fire specialists, the 8 here. So we have with us 5 fire specialists tonight. We've had 1 that's since left the department. The fire specialist rank is between firefighter and fire captain. We are a small enough department. We're a combination department, if you guys aren't aware of that. I challenge you to figure out which one's volunteer and which one's paid in here. They're all great. The fire specialist is a rank up where they're going to drive and operate the fire engine and the aerial apparatus, so the big fire trucks. They've got everything done for that. These guys just got back from a big training class on how to pump. It takes a lot of math. There's a lot of science. It is not an easy task, not to mention the 3 or 4 lives you have on board with you and the public that you're going and responding to calls in and making the right decisions for. They've also got the ability to step up and act as captains on a fire scene. And with the department our size, it's really, really important that everyone's trained one level up. So without further ado, I'm going to read Noel's, or Charles, I'm sorry, I'm going to read one of these verbatim, and then we're just going to use both names because I know we got some time crunch here. This is an advanced journey level class in the fire suppression series, fully qualified to operate any apparatus, vehicles, and equipment in addition to performing all other emergency response duties. Incumbents are expected to possess sufficient technical and supervisory skills to assume company officer duties as an acting fire captain on a relief and emergency basis for multiple alarm emergency calls. And as with firefighter Reyes, I've reviewed their records. Chief Sibley and I've conferred on it. They meet all of our criteria. Some of the things behind the scenes, these guys are doing pre-fire plans that are in our system. We can look at Keene Roofing, for example, has a beautiful pre-fire plan. That's part of their pathway in teaching. So these guys that come up in the ranks, beyond us that start becoming officers. The one thing I'll leave you with is, I won't say who, but I had someone recently in this group thank me for the opportunity to do this. And my response was, I didn't do anything. I gave you the weight. You did the heavy lifting. And it's truthfully what we do. You guys as council, you provide us the budget. I go by the weight bench. I go by the books. I do the right thing with what I think I can do with that money. And Chief Sibley makes it happen in training. And these guys that you see in this room and these guys behind me make it happen every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, whether I'm here or not. And these guys are awesome. Love you guys. Welcome to the family. Welcome to your promotion as fire specialists. I'm going to bring some family up to pin you guys now.
No. Oh dear.
Speech? Public comment? No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much for everybody for being here tonight. And again, when we have our December assembly, we'll put an invite out, and hopefully you guys can make it then too. So thank you. Enjoy your meeting.
Okay, moving right along, I'm going to be on item 3, which is the consent agenda. Now it has to do with the minutes from the last 2 sessions. I know we had a lot of minutes from the last session, so there may be several corrections. So if there is, we'll try to address them. If not, we will get them addressed. So if you notice it or you know of anything, please let Ophelia know. Yes, ma'am. Roxanne?
I have a couple just real short.
Go ahead.
Okay. Under citizen comments, Lynn Milam, it says she nominated Jimbo Stater. I would just like to make a correction that she suggested that Jimbo Stater be nominated. I think it would be more accurate. Then on page 3, it talked about Mayor Pro Tem and who voted yes. And I would just like to make it be noted that I abstained from that vote. I did not vote. I did not vote on that one, okay? And I know you couldn't see me, so I'm just like, but I decided I'm not gonna vote for myself. I'm honored to serve, but not to vote. Okay, and then on Section I, when we discussed and considered best approach for road repair, there was a motion made that it says that the city maintenance was going to go with us throughout the city, but at the last meeting, our city manager said that would not be possible, that our city maintenance people would not be able to go with us. And so I just want to make that, so when we went out yesterday, the maintenance department was not involved. So I just want to make that as a correction to those minutes.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I had some corrections too that I went ahead and forwarded to Dalton and Ophelia, and you guys have a handout. It says item 3A at the top, and it's a variety of things. Part are clarifications and part are redundant to Roxanne. But if you want me to go through them, I will, but if you guys want to glance at them and make sure you're okay with them, Ophelia said she'll make them,
Okay.
if council agrees.
We can adjust them and do it an approval on the next meeting if you want to do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
Since there's numerous ones, that might be easier to do it that way.
yeah, so we can always, yes, sir, that's the best way to do it.
So we're going to table the consent agenda until the next meeting. Okay.
Yeah, motion second, and then
Do I get a motion? I need a motion for that, please.
Motion to table the minutes from the last meeting until next meeting.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made, second by Roxanne and seconded by Pat. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone, and any opposed? All are in favor, everybody approved. Okay, we've already been through the Aaron, are you through? Okay, you're through, okay.
We have
Another
minutes.
session.
Another session, another minutes.
Oh,
One more minute.
okay, I'm sorry, and on the special session?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought I was gonna put them all in one deal, but I apologize for that, we can do it separately. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes on the June 22nd special session?
I have some changes to that also.
Okay,
And I have given those also to Ophelia. And you also have them in a handout that I handed to you. It's on the back side. It's item 3B. Do you want me to go through them, or you want to just look at them, or? Okay. Perfect.
I thought we were doing it all together, I'm sorry, I lumped them together.
I had a couple of changes too, just that, mine was just basically with, according to our original minutes, we were supposed to have discussed and considered guidelines for agenda at this meeting, on the 22nd, and that was not done. So I just wanted to note that, so we can make sure that it was on our agenda last time, and we were all worn out by the end, so we tabled it till, it was supposed to be on this meeting. So at some point, I'd like that agenda, our discussion about how we're going to run our meetings to come up again.
yeah, and the best way to do that would be not technically table is not the right term. That would be within a meeting in itself. Like if a bear came in, you table it and then you come back. So really, if y'all use postpone and then set the date and time that you want to postpone it to, then that would be in the minutes, which would then reflect it. Now, that way we can make sure that we get it on
We
there.
were thinking of having a workshop on that, Roxanne, so it will probably be August, maybe September, but we'll have a workshop on the protocol.
That sounds
Cover
good.
everything at one time.
Yeah. A workshop in July or August?
Probably gonna be August sometime, but we are gonna try to put that on the agenda, or get everybody together for that workshop.
So
So I hear-
I had a couple other little changes. Should I just send
Yeah,
those?
we're gonna
next
get
time.
with her, and I need a motion to postpone that one, the number, June 22nd, special session minutes till next week, or next session.
Make a motion to postpone pending the changes.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Pat second.
Pat.
Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, going into committee reports right now. Library?
I was supposed to read the auxiliary report at some point, under clubs and organizations.
Well, Dalton and I were looking at that later, toward the end of the,
Put it later? Okay.
because we postponed the budget timeline.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I forgot the clubs and organization was under the announcement one.
We will
We'll
get it
hold.
though.
Okay.
Okay. Am I on? Okay.
You're on.
All right. Pam Robinson, Mary Ruth Briggs Library Chairperson. We now have 7,639 books in the library catalog as of July the 3rd. We added 31 books during the month of June, and the value of these books is $92,636.12. We have 292 members as of July the 3rd, with 6 added members during June, 188 volunteer hours year-to-date, July 3rd, with 25 volunteer hours during the month of June. Our Volunteer Day was held on June the 21st, and we had 6 volunteers who researched donated books, jacketed books, entered books, shelved and put the library in good working order, and had a good time doing it. I want to thank the library volunteers who assist us in every way. We couldn't do it without you. And if you want to become a library volunteer, just show up. We will train you. We meet on the 3rd Wednesday of each month in the library at 1 o'clock until 3. Our next meeting is July the 19th. I want to tell you a little bit about Elder Explorers at the Point, which is a part of the library. On June 29th, we had coffee and waters, and flag cookies. We had a company that has just started up called Stretch Lab, came out and gave a demonstration, and some of us partook of that, and it was very good. We had quite a crowd with that. Some people showed up just to be stretched and learn about this business. They are located on Adams near Mod Pizza, and they're actually at Summerfest this time. We also had bingo that was called by Joe Stanfield. I call him the bingo master, and a lot of people liked that, and they really enjoyed themselves. Our next meeting is Thursday, July 27th, 9 a.m. to noon, here in the Event Center. And our program will be on beginner line dancing. How many in here would want to take that? Okay, all right. And we do have a teacher from the Belton Senior Center who's going to teach us. And if you don't want to participate in it, we have table games, and yes, we have bingo because it was very popular. We are planning on some day trips. That was a bus day trip. When we put out our little questionnaire, that was one of the most highly rated places people wanted to go and what they wanted to do. And we're going to go by bus, and some suggestions have been the Painted Churches, Lady Bird Johnson, Wildflower Center, the Arboretum in Dallas, and we have quite a few more, so we'll keep you updated on that. And finally and foremost, summer reading will be starting July 22nd. I have put some little flyers up there. Please register now. You can register online at the city website. You can get a paper ballot, if that's your preference, up at City Hall. And we are in need of youth volunteers to help us. They need to be 6th grade and above, and we need them to help with games, anything. So if you have a child that's that age that would like to get some volunteer hours, we're happy to give them a letter saying that they did so many hours. Thank you.
Pam, appreciate it. A lot of work. Thank you. Okay, next, planning and zoning. Becky, you available?
Hi, I'm Becky Cooley. I am the planning and zoning chairperson. I had submitted a letter, and I'm just going to read that to you. The Planning and Zoning Committee would like to express deep disappointment regarding the June City Council meeting. As a committee, we strive to be and represent the concerns of our citizens. One such concern was the issue of garbage enclosures. We were taken aback when the ordinance was voted down without any inquiries directed toward the committee. Providing some context might shed some light on why we brought this matter to your attention in the first place. Garbage enclosure ordinance was initially added to the agenda due to the specific business in town that had allowed trash and clutter to accumulate around its dilapidated structure, neglecting their responsibilities to maintain the appearance of and take pride in their community. Despite the city's efforts to address, we believe that implementing and promote unity among local businesses and create a welcoming environment for our friends, our residents, and visitors. This matter was initially raised in September of 2022, and we conducted a comprehensive review of various city ordinances to determine the most suitable approach for Morgan's Point Resort. In January 2023, we contracted with SITCOG to streamline the process, its impact on and our businesses. We acknowledged that cost was a concern, and the EDC offered to collaborate with us and the 10 businesses affected. However, City Council was not interested in exploring this route at the time. During the council meeting, a former Planning and Zoning Committee member who had worked closely with us on this matter appeared to shift their stance entirely, catching us off guard. After conducting research and surveying the area, this member advised against the ordinance, claiming that it would not enhance the city and would unduly burden business owners. However, we firmly believe that maintaining cleanliness and tidiness always contributes to the improvement of cities. Additionally, another member suggested that we simply request the business owners rectify the situation. We have already attempted this approach, but if everyone complied without hesitation, there would be no need for an ordinance. A third council member expressed opposition to the specific wording of the ordinance. Perhaps a processes between council and planning and zoning is necessary. If there are aspects of the ordinance that the council disagrees with, we kindly request that you refer them back to the Planning and Zoning Committee. In doing so, we can collaborate on refining those sections. We are also open to implementing a grandfathering provision should that be a point of concern. If the preliminary objection is related to cost, we invite you to inform us and we can explore creative alternatives. We would greatly appreciate the opportunity to explore in constructive dialogue with you in the future. Feel free to ask questions and voice any concerns. We want to ensure our visions align with that of City Council, and we firmly believe that working together as a team will yield positive results. The only other thing we have to bring before you tonight is a recommendation for Justin Strawn to be on the committee.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Becky. Council, I'm apologize. We're skipping around a little bit here. We had a method to our madness originally, but it may have changed a little bit right now. But we were going to put clubs and organizations along with some other things, but we're going to go ahead and go to clubs and organizations now.
Mayor Green, are we able to respond to that letter?
Yeah.
Can we respond to Becky's letter?
Yeah.
Becky, I had actually wrote you an email. I was going to send it, and I thought it'd probably be better to address it in an open forum. So, like you, I'm just going to read my letter. Dear Becky, thank you for expressing your deep disappointment regarding the outcome of the June City Council meeting. I understand your concerns and frustration, and I want to assure you that your dedication to our community is duly noted. I acknowledge that the issue of garbage enclosures was a result of a specific business neglecting its responsibility to maintain a clean and presentable appearance. And I recognize the efforts made by the committee to address this matter and the comprehensive review of city ordinances that took place to find the most suitable approach. The decision to vote down the ordinance without consulting the committee was not taken lightly, and I apologize if it caused any distress. The council members may have had various reasons for their votes, including concerns about the impact on businesses and the specific wording of the ordinances. While I understand your perspective that cleanliness and tidiness contribute to the improvement of the city, it is important to consider the potential burden on business owners and find a balanced solution. I agree that that there may be a need for a better communication and education between the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Committee. It is crucial for us to collaborate and ensure that our visions align for the betterment of our community. I support the idea of referring the aspects of the ordinance that the council disagrees with back to the committee for further refinement. This collaborative process will allow us to address concerns and find common ground. Personally, the cost is a significant concern to me. I encourage you to explore creative alternatives and potential collaborations with the EDC and the affected businesses. Finding innovative solutions to financially challenge our business is not an option. I appreciate your willingness to engage in constructive dialogue, and I assure that your input is heard. We want to work together as a team and achieve positive results for our community. I encourage you to continue voicing your questions, concerns, and ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also sent Becky an email, but I'm not going to read it. But it's basic.
I didn't send it.
I did. But basically, I said I'm not speaking for the council. I'm just speaking for me. But that I appreciate you coming forward, and I respect you for coming forward in your role as the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee, and that maybe we can have a workshop or collaborative session where P&Z can come present what priorities you guys are working on, and I put that all in the email, and then we can talk about how that fits in with the priorities of the city as we develop them, because we're still developing them, and then hopefully we won't have that stutter step in the future. So I apologize for the stutter step. I understand you got a whole new council here to deal with, and so I appreciate you coming forward. Thank you.
I also would like to make one comment. Becky, I also felt when I was on the planning and zoning, I tried to raise objections several times, and I felt like I was overruled by the rest of the zoning commission, so I was quiet because I felt that was the right and respectful thing to do. But just as an FYI, for my big reason for rejecting, years ago, I met a lady who had been in Hitler's youth group, and she escaped and came to the United States. And she went and told us this story about how prior to Hitler taking over, the city government kept doing overreach and overreach and overreach. And she specifically mentioned multiple laws that were made for small businesses and actually put them out of business. And when I heard this garbage enclosure that we've lived with for 50 years, I really had to stop and weigh. Is this that? Are we being government overreach? So in every ordinance that I consider in the future, just FYI for you, that would be my big thing, is I don't want to see us in government overreach. But thank you for submitting the letter.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, I'll toss in my 2 cents. So I was actually at the P&Z meeting following our decision to tank that. No, that's I don't mean that. That's not a derogatory term. Yeah, I'm a fireman. We're not smart. Yeah, and I can attest to the fact that they were not happy. So talked with them briefly, and one of the things that I took away from that was we as a council have to be involved. We talk about being involved on the things that seem to really hit us hard, and I went forward with them and told them that, you know, I know for me, you guys know my voting record in the past after home rule. I told them that I would make every effort to be at one of those, or at least coordinate with you guys to try to make sure one of us is there. So to avoid any future blindsiding, and again, that's a bad term, but just to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music, we owe that to you guys. You guys put 3 months of work into this thing, and in about 3.5 minutes, we said, nah. So we've got to do better at that. We owe that to you guys.
Thank you, council. That's, appreciate that. Thank you, Beck, for your work and your committee and the planning and zoning. I know it's a thankless job, right? We're trying to thank you. Okay, moving along, we're going to go into club and organizations. Anybody, Lynn, do you have anything? Oh, you want to be lead off?
Hi, Lynn Milam, 28 Morgan's Point Boulevard. I'm president of the Morgan's Cops. Summerfest was fabulous. Y'all did a great job. Linda, everybody did such a great job. Our fans were another big hit, and we will be giving them out again next year. July 15th, this weekend, is the citywide garage sale, and we are actually having one with all of our proceeds going to the MPR police officers, as well as a bake sale, and everything will be homemade. The bake sale portion will be down here, and that starts at 8 a.m. to 1, and the garage sale portion will be at my house. So 28 Morgan's Point Boulevard. and we're starting that at 7 a.m., 7 to 1. We've got tons of stuff right now. We've had numerous pizza parties and tagging stuff parties and just everything. And we've got so much stuff. And a lot of stuff looks brand new that these people gave us. I mean, it really does. And so please, if you come out, just know that everything that you purchase down there is going for the police officers. We also have September 26th. We will be having a booth at 8:30 to 1 at the Senior Expo, and that's going to be at the Bell County Expo Center, 8:30 to 1, Senior Expo. Then October 20 and 21st, the 3rd Annual Nipper Memorial Barbecue Cook-Off, and it's a CTBA sanctioned event, and we will be giving away a $1,000 scholarship as well as $5,000 in prizes. October 28th, we will be having the 3rd Annual Halloween Festival with the cops and the Fellowship Baptist Church at Fellowship Baptist Church. And I think that's about it right now.
Lot on the agenda. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Linda, anybody have any other club organization have any comments?
I have Karen's from the auxiliary.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, Karen had to step out, so she asked that I read this. This is the wrong report. Sorry. I had it out here. Oh, thank you. Did you take it? Oh, here it is. Okay. The auxiliary ladies will meet this Thursday, July 13th, 6 p.m. at the Event Center, and they want to encourage everybody to come. They meet monthly, always on the second Thursday of each month, and they really want you to join them. And it's also on the calendar on the website. Our water aerobics is in full swing Tuesday and Thursday for the AM classes, and Monday and Wednesday for the evening classes. It's all over Facebook, city website, or contact Barbara Lyman for any information. And I heard it's a big hit. I haven't been able to get there yet, but I will. Yeah, it's a splash, right. Thank you for the opportunity for Megan Cunningham and her family to hand out USA flags from our booth this year at Summerfest. It was a wonderful event. And then here's a date, September 23rd, they're having the chili cook-off, and those plans are coming together. They're planning vendors, bake sale, raffle baskets, tasting cups for people's choice. Of course, we'll continue the tradition of friendly rivalry with the fire departments. It's the Fire Department Challenge. And last year, Moffett won, but this year, Morgan's Point hopes to get their trophy back. The auxiliary members will be participating again this year in Bell County Senior Expo on the 26th at the Expo Center. And just a reminder, the 5K run won't be held this year with the chili cook-off like it's been in the past. The run has been moved until March of 2024 with Jojo Guzman as our auxiliary organizer and planner, so watch for those updates. Thank you to each and every one of you for supporting our events and fundraisers. We appreciate you. Karen Stagner.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, going back.
It's right here.
We're on item 6. We're going to move D, and that's the option for the employee health. We're going to move that up to the next one. So,
That way they can get on the road.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So we're looking at that options for employee, which we had our workshop on. And so, while it should be fresh on everybody's mind to some degree. And
Do you want me to lead with that, or how? Okay.
Yeah, can you do like a lead-in and then maybe a summary of the workshop, and then we can each speak? Okay.
Absolutely. So with the TML Health, or with the health benefits this year, every year we have to go out for renewal or go out for bid for our employee benefits. Of course, every year benefits go up, and we have to try to navigate both the cost to the organization and the cost to the employee. And it's always a difficult balance. Currently, and for some time, we've been with TML Health, which is now under a new name that I won't ever remember. So we'll just stick with TML Health for this one. And we've pretty much gone, into, well, at least the past 2.5 years, but also beyond on that. 2.5 years ago, when I came on board, if you can believe it's been 2.5 years already, almost, we brought brokers in, Brinson Benefits. They're in the back somewhere. They were. And we wanted to look to see to make sure that what we were doing every single year, which was kind of just signing the renewal, that we were accomplishing, again, the goals of the city, but also taking care of our employees and at the same process. The first year, 2.5 years ago, we saved about $40,000, give or take. It was anywhere between 40 to 54, depending on how we move some stuff around, but about $40,000. Last year, TML Health went up 18%. We went out for bid, trying to get, make sure that we look at all the options. There's some ultimatums that TML Health came out with last year. They didn't honor those, so they came out with an initial 25, or they came out with a bid recommendation of 25%. Blue Cross Blue Shield under a fully insured plan came out to 60%. Our brokers were able to renegotiate down to the 18% again, and so we stuck with TML Health another year. Over the course of, I'm kind of going back to 2020, TML Health spent about $29+ million that they were hoping to recoup from the 88th legislative session. They did not get that funding. The TML Health, as I said, kind of rebranded. So this year they did not put a cap onto premiums or onto the premiums, which last year they did at 18%. So we went out for bid. The initial bid was at 25%. We kind of anticipated this. We started preparing for the shift potentially to come to council to shift from TML Health into a fully insured plan. And when I say fully insured, TML Health is a self-funded plan, so they have different rules and requirements. That's a whole topic for another workshop that we did talk about during the workshop. So this year they came in at 31%. When we went out for bid, Blue Cross Blue Shield as a fully insured plan came in at basically 46.6%. So the delta between what would be thrown onto the city would either be $76,000 or $116,000. However, that cost ideally would be going to our dependent coverage, which is about 10% of our 33 full-time employee base. So their rates are going to go up, going the TML Health route, at least 31%. What we're recommending, kind of just bottom line up front, is to shift away from TML Health, which right now we're showing an average, basically an average increase of about 20%. And to put that into perspective, the last 2 years, if we go with the 31% this year, we're going to be at over a 49% increase in premiums just alone. So the perspective of swapping off over to Blue Cross Blue Shield is complicated, but it's there. So what we're recommending is shift away from TML Health. They're on average about a 20% increase every single year. We don't know. That's probably the biggest unknown. By shifting and paying a higher premium up front on the city, we can look at some funding mechanisms to lower the premium costs to our employees, and then we can spread that cost on a forecast basically over about a 4-year period. So 2 prongs. The city cost savings would break even in about 2 to 3 years. The employee cost savings, we're projecting, again, each year is going to be a projection, at a 12% potentially increase, which we have some time to figure out what those funding mechanisms would be, would break even on market in about 4 years, which would reduce the year-over-year employee cost to the dependent. The dependent care is the biggest challenge that we have right now, but it'll buy us some time. So over this forecast, would you look at that? Reason why we're considering this model and we're projecting and forecasting this model is under the Blue Cross Blue Shield fully insured plan. Historical data shows under, we'll call it the small group funds, which is under 51 employees, is traditionally and historically 7 to 12%. So on a bad year under a fully insured, once we become a member of Blue Cross Blue Shield, then we could look at a bad year of no more than 12% to our employees. Now, that being said, we can always what if it and say, well, what if the year gets bad? Well, the ships rise at the same, all the ships rise the same. So even if we go up to 14%, well, TML Health could come back at 20, 25 or greater percent. So what we're recommending is focusing on the long-term 4-year kind of forecast, and again, reevaluate it each year, not put anything too crazy onto the employees, which we're going to be able to figure out over the next few weeks during budget time. But we're recommending get away from TML Health and secure the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan to make sure we focus on our city's future, but also focus on our employees' future.
And the employees aren't crazy about the TML Health plan anyway. There's a lot of complaints about it, and so that's another impetus.
Yes, ma'am. And so we did get multiple bids on it, and we, again, assessed all of them. UHC, United Health, came in at 78%. That was obviously unrealistic. Baylor Scott & White, I don't know the percent. If I put, sorry for any Baylor Scott & White, my wife one. If I went on to a Baylor Scott & White health plan, I'd probably probably have my head on a stake outside. So that was kind of off the table. So we did get multiple, it wasn't just between two. We got multiple bids on it.
And this has been discussed prior to in the workshop. I know a lot of you were not here, but it was a pretty good presentation.
And the last thing I'll say, Mayor, on this one, this was not a reactionary decision on this. Every TCMA, every TML, I mean, I got a target on, of my head at TML because they know we're challenging them to try to do this. The reason why this seems very rushed is this was a product by design from TML Health that they do their claims release 120 days prior, which then forces cities to have to react by July 15th. And all the other payers are by design later on, and so it kind of puts cities into a catch-22 on having to make a decision very quickly versus kind of having that time. The other thing was, that was kind of talked about during the workshop, could we go into a mid-year bid or a mid-year soft bid? And the law under TML, here, let me back up. TML Health, you can only pull one claim a year, and that would be 120 days out with a 90-day deadline. Other payers typically have twice a year, and it falls under the Texas something of insurance, something science. So ideally, under another payer, you could do mid-year, technically 6-month type bids. So even though the premiums are going up across the board, we do, over the next couple months, we're going to work on the funding and how we can do that. And I'm confident that even though both of these are a risk, as city manager and kind of an advocate of the employees, but also an advocate of the city and being fiscally responsible, I think the risk overall is going to be less and better managed under a Blue Cross Blue Shield fully funded plan and getting away from TML Health.
So to decipher everything you just said, Dalton, okay, this is going to be better for our employees.
Yes.
That's what I want to hear.
And it's going to be an increase of probably, for the residents, 120 to, depending upon how we fund dependent coverage, $150,000 to our bottom line for 23-24. So it's a big financial commitment to make this change, but yet there are so many compelling reasons why we think we just need to make it at this time.
Also, in the long run, it washes out.
Well,
If you look
it's a
at
forecast.
it on
You never know.
Yeah, it's a forecast, and yes, we understand the risk of the forecast. But
based on forecast, but everything in, that's all we can do.
And to Councilmember Allen's point, the great thing about this is we have time. By going to the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, we have time. We have time to get in budget. We have time to get creative. We have time to get innovative. We have time to work with these folks. Our analyst with Brenson Benefits, our broker, they're also our patient advocates. We spent time with the VPs, we spent time with the president, really diving in to make sure that we mitigate as much risk as possible. Other cities under the TML plan are jumping off of this because some are getting 75% increases in their premiums. And the more people that jump off of a self-funded pool, the higher the premiums could go. And again, we just cannot predict in it. We're doing a very kind of conservative prediction of about 20% a year, where Blue Cross Blue Shield would be about 7 to 12.
We're going to move along now. We'll need a motion to accept.
I just have one little question for clarification, if I might. I am just curious as to what does the current employee pay for their insurance? Does the city pay 100%? Do they pay 100% for self? But then I just want to know what the employees are currently responsible for.
Yes, ma'am. Great quick question too. So right now, well, not now, we do pay 100% of the employee only. We have, again, 33% out of employees that are on a dependent care. The dependent care is where we're hurting the most because we don't offer a benefit to the dependent care side. So outside of the employee deduction from the dependent care, dependents are paying the entire 100% less the employee side of that premium. And that's where we're going to get very creative on to make sure that we, again, we're not netting zero or taking a loss. We are just making sure that we spread that increase over multiple years so we get them up to fair market value. Then we can, as it stabilizes, we can start making some more permanent decisions.
We paid the employees full share for years. I don't know how long with you, as long as I can remember. Yeah, as long as, it's been forever. So, yeah, we paid, that's been on the table.
This is a point of clarification because this is all Greek.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to help pick up the dependent, the part that the employee has to pay now for the dependents? Is that going to be something that the city's going to take on? or is the employee still gonna have to cover that themselves?
So right now, whether it's TML or Blue Cross, it doesn't matter, that's going to the employee. But this is where we get very creative during the budget process to determine what that offset looks like. We can start doing some more modeling and figure out where we can find it in the budget, since we're still currently going through the budget piece. So now, if council decides to go with TML, and I'm gonna do a real quick forecast on that. If we offset the benefits of TML Health at 31%, and let's just say we cut it down to 15% that they would cover, don't give me numbers on it, so we're just gonna say percentages. But if we cut that in half, every single year, we're gonna net a loss, and the city's gonna continue to hit a loss just because we're projecting 20+% on TML Health. Where under the Blue Cross plan, under 7 to 12%, we can factor in a system, because remember, the city's gonna ideally, under the forecast, break even in, let's just say, 3 years. So that realized return on investment that we are not losing ultimately rolls back in. I call it a self-licking ice cream cone, but basically the system works for itself, and then we don't make it a permanent benefit to the employee. We just ease that time off of them, so they're not getting slammed with 31 or 46%. And again, projections, we'll assess it every year. We plan on it breaking even and also benefiting.
Basically, we can address that at budget time.
Yes.
If we would make some adjustments, so with that.
Yeah,
But that's a
dependent
really
is not
big
over.
change.
And yes, and this is.
That's a really big change, Pat. Once you make a change like that, employees aren't going to want you to take it away. So, I mean, we've got to be really careful and tread lightly, especially looking at $120,000, $150,000 hit already for next year. We just have to be really careful.
Even though we haven't dove into the details as far as the funding mechanisms, I am confident that with the budgets we have, with our financial state, what we're looking at in the budget, and our fund balance overall, I'm confident we have the money that we need to set this forecast in motion and prepare for the future and taking care of our employees and the city.
Which is the main thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to, I'd like to have a motion to accept the, the Blue Cross Blue Shield in lieu of the TML, I'm gonna use your term, TML policy. I'd let Dalton negotiate that for us. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'd also like to look into the lyric as well.
Yeah.
Please include that.
Okay, in a second.
Would you like to say include the lyric as
Yes,
well? Okay.
yes.
And we can always a budgeted item, so we can add that kind of.
Okay.
But yes, sir, absolutely.
Go for it and make it
Made the
so.
motion, do I hear a second? Pat, second. Any further discussion? Like, so we're gonna address this again, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Even you,
But the big,
abstain, okay.
yeah, but the big decision of tonight is we are letting go of TML.
Yes.
That's the big decision tonight. Okay.
We're trying to make this stuff clearer for the minutes next time around, okay? Now I'm going to got through that. I'm going to try to go back to the regular schedule. And the next one has to do with the planning and zoning. They have kicked off Roxanne, excuse me, she is no longer on the planning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On planning and zoning, since she was elected to the council. So that's it. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
But part of that, hold on, part of that is Justin Strawn has been recommended to take that position, so that's going to be part of that resolution. Okay, you ready with it?
Is Justin Strawn here?
Okay, we'll forgive him. We'll get him. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, next one, ordinance 2023-13, authorization and creation of the Park and Recreation Board. And do we have the rules for that? We've not pulled the rules or anything on that yet, have we?
The ordinance was done, yeah, sorry about your email, I gotta get that fixed, my apologies, Mayor. I'm just gonna kick that one to Neil. And we were able to talk about that at the workshop yesterday, so there was some discussion on it. So I think really if the additions are kind of what y'all want to do, we can.
Yeah, so at our workshop yesterday, we definitely reviewed the original ordinance, and then we went through and we just made some edits. And of course, we couldn't make a decision, so I said I would go through and make the changes and get it sent to you, because Dalton said I should send it to you. And so this is the time that we could look this over now and make sure this is what we want for the, basically the creation and the function of a Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm sorry, committee. I can summarize. Well, we talked about them together. We were together yesterday. So what we talked about was that it would be a standing committee, and it would be 7 people, and it would be an advisory committee to council, and that a council member would serve as the chairman, especially for the initial period of time that this is being created. They're basically 2-year terms, and they'll be staggered, and at their first meeting, they will elect a vice chair and a secretary and whatever else they deem that they want to appoint. And then the duties, we kind of went through the duties that were from the city of Phoenix for their Parks and Recreation Committee, and we kind of cut them in half because some of them weren't applicable to us. But those are the duties. There's about 6 or 7 of them. They're going to meet at least quarterly. Council members shall serve as the chair. City manager and/or designated staff can participate. Neither the chairman or the city manager or designated staff will have a vote. It's kind of like the mayor. They will not vote. It'll just be the 7 members that will vote. I think that's basically the highlights.
Do we need to send this back to Neil and make sure everything is kosher? And
If there aren't any changes, he's got this one.
And this one is legal as it stands. Yep.
Yeah, so the only thing I would point out for our citizens out there is we've received a lot of interest in this committee, which is awesome. A lot of folks have volunteered already to serve on it. We certainly appreciate it. One of the things we did discuss was we want to kind of, what's the best word? Yeah, but we want to, solicit. I don't know if I like solicit. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we want to kind of canvas. That's what we're going to kind of canvas, kind of put out, I don't want to call it an application process because you're not getting paid, but we want to reach out to everybody and just try to make sure we get a diverse cross-section of everybody across the city, near, far from the parks, use the park, don't use the park, kids, no kids, et cetera. So moving forward, that's something we're definitely going to be pursuing and make that happen quick.
In that case, do I hear an acceptance of ordinance 2023-13, which is the creation of the park board?
As revised.
Okay, as revised, okay. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
I'll make a motion to accept 2023.13 with the changes.
And second?
Second.
Second, Roxanne. And everybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, are we going to, are the members, are going to be approved by the council?
Yes.
Okay, so the park members will be approved by the council, so
And
later.
we had talked about, because we want to get a very diverse group here, we want people with younger kids and older people, and so we had talked about, rather than just saying, yeah, you can be on the board, we would recommend an application similar to planning and zoning, where you just say your name, how long you've lived here, what your qualifications are, and why you want to serve, and then bring that forward, and then at that point, once this is approved, then we would go ahead and appoint the first committee.
And then one more thing on the chairman of the committee being a council person. We did talk about a person, and do we need to go ahead and make a motion on that? Because we talked about Stephen.
I don't know if we need to do that until such times we do them. Members,
Because in the ordinance, it says that we will appoint a chair from the council. And so if we've passed the ordinance, can we go ahead and appoint the chair? Okay.
So I would like to recommend, and we all,
It's not on the agenda, so we need to wait till next time.
So the board's been approved, we just don't have the chairman approved right now. Okay.
so can we get
We're
that on
going-
the agenda?
Everything
for,
good on that?
Get that on the agenda for August, please, Ophelia. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Next item is discuss and consider traffic circle at the intersection of 2483 Morgan's Point Road and 2267. Dorothy, you think you wanted this on the agenda, so you take it from there and give us what you want to do.
Oh, okay. Dalton, you want to introduce it as far as the big picture of the different things going on?
I figured since we got some presenters doing this, we'll let the presenters, I guess, kick off. I really,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll be glad to read what Dalton had sent out, and that is that the Central Texas Council of Governments, the COG, and Killeen Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is called KTEMPO, Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, Belton Independent School District, Morgan's Point Resort, and multiple other stakeholders have continued to foster old and new partnerships related to quarterly TxDOT meetings that began in 2021 to discuss a multiple of projects with sustainable impacts to Morgan's Point and the region. So this organization, and Jim Reed is here from the COG, he'll explain more about this organization. But the types of things that Dalton put in the memo was the 2483 expansion from the high school down to Four Corners to widen that the full length. They reduced the speed limit on 2483, that is done. Begin discussions on funding sources for the sidewalk, which is in process. And then the fourth piece was the 2483 and Morgan's Point Road intersection. What options do we have for that? Some people are calling it a traffic circle, a roundabout. It could be stop signs, it could be whatever, but to deal with the traffic, especially with the increased traffic from the schools the three schools, really, elementary, middle, and high school that we have. So with that, Jim Reed has agreed to come and kind of explain the whole concept of the KTEMPO and the COG and how it fits in and how he can help our city. And they are a free organization to us. They are consultants with us, and they do a lot of work with us. So, Jim, you might want to introduce yourself on your background.
While he's walking up, kind of free.
I was going to say free, but not cheap. Thank you for the opportunity to be back. It's been a while. Good to see you again, Mayor. And
See you again.
Council, congratulations. Neil, good to see you again. I have with me Uriah Nelson. He's trying to hide in the back, but I'm going to make him stand up. I have all the strategic knowledge, but he has all the specific knowledge. So I'm going to tell you what kind of the lay of the land is. But when it comes down to actually getting money in a project and getting it all aligned, Uriah is the one who makes that happen. So you probably want to talk to him more than you want to talk to me. But big picture, the COG is 7 counties, 32 cities. Been around for over 50 years. You all are members, always have been. Thank you for your membership. We appreciate you all. My one plug for the COG is you pay 6 cents per capita and we return around $119 per capita. So we think we're a pretty good deal. So enough with the commercial, we'll move on. The COG does all sorts of projects, 148 as of this morning of different federal and state grants that we administer. There is a subset that applies only to the urbanized area, and you are in the middle of that. We'll just leave that hanging there. If you'll trust me that you're in the middle of it, that means any highway funding that you want from TxDOT has to come through a sub-organization recognized by the federal government known as KTEMPO. Confused yet? KTEMPO is housed at the COG, but it's not the COG. It's just housed at the COG. And Uriah is my appointed director of KTEMPO. Followed me so far?
Yep.
So, big picture, there are 2 types of roadways in Texas. On system, off system. On system means TxDOT owns it. Off system means you all own it. technically there's a third one called private roads, but let's not talk about them because you don't want to pave a private road anyway, so we don't want to talk about that. We'll keep it nice and easy. The intersection that is in question is an on-system intersection, which means TxDOT owns it. Which means that if you want to do anything to it, you got to work through KTempo to get to TxDOT. Doesn't mean you can't make a phone call to TxDOT, but ultimately when you want money, they're going to tell you to go see Orion. So it's better if you go see Orion first so that he can be your advocate. So let's talk specifically that project, and then I'll be glad to shut up and answer any questions you might have about that or any other project on transportation. We received a letter saying, hey, would you all look at the intersection, Four Corners? I like that term, by the way. And we said, sure. And so being the go-between between you all and the federal and the state government transportation department, we shot the letter up. TxDOT in record time. By the way, you know how they say things go in dog years? There's also TxDOT years, so I'm sorry. It makes dog years look short. But in record time, TxDOT looked at your letter and said, oh, that's nice. We're not going to study that. Now, were they being disrespectful to you all? No. What they were saying is in the world of things that we have to do at TxDOT, your project is of such a small scope that if you want to ever see that project worked on, you're going to have to nominate it through KTempo. TxDOT isn't going to study it. So TxDOT is busy studying the intersection of I-35 and Interstate 14. How do you reroute Interstate 14 to the east? Little known fact, I know we all pay a lot of taxes, but right now TxDOT can only fund about 29% of all the need they've identified. So if you go to TxDOT and say, can I have Four Corners improved? They're going to say, yeah, that's nice, go see KTempo. You're just not going to appear on their radar screen. Doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they think that road is just fine the way it is, and they've got plenty to say grace over. So if you as a community want something done to that road, you're going to have to work from the bottom up. Are we together so far? So how does this work? There are lots of funding streams. You don't have enough time tonight to know all of them. I don't even know all of them. But the bottom line is the easiest one for you to get funding through is the discretionary funding stream through KTempo. Ryan, how much do you all have normally? 7 million? What's 7 million a year? So to give you an order of magnitude, not saying you're going to build a roundabout, but if you wanted to build a roundabout, Belton built one a couple of years ago. It was 3 million. With inflation, you're looking at about $5 million. Just round number. So how do you get that on the screen? Well, you as a council have to decide that A, that's your priority. B, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is. C, that you do some preliminary engineering or conceptual design to tell TxDOT what you want, come up with a cost estimate, and then you nominate it to Orion. He takes that before the technical committee and the policy board, and you get in line with everybody else. And that's where relationship works. And if you're not in relationship, one of you needs to get on the KTempo board or on the KTempo policy board. Dalton is great, but one of the elected officials needs to be there, because I'd love to tell you that there is a very nice empirical, well thought out formula, and yours will score high and you will get funded. That is not how it works. How it works is whoever has been there long enough and pitches the best project, and whoever's turn it is. Now, sometimes safety concerns go to the top of the list, and sometimes projects are no-brainers. You know, it's something that the whole region wants, and that project comes up. But sometimes projects get funded because somebody has sat at that table long enough that it's their turn. I wish I could tell you it wasn't that way, but it is that way. How many of you have driven Loop 121 in Belton? How many of you have seen that lovely new rear entrance to Mary Hardin Baylor? West 9th Street project. That project was on the list for 27 years. You want to know how they got it? I mean, you really want to know how they got it? Yes, I do. Mayor Grayson from Belton stood up the first year we had $7 million, and she said, I think we ought to build Colleen's project. And the next year she stood up and she said, I think we ought to build a Temples project. And the third year she said, you know, Harker Heights has got a great project. And the fourth year she stood up and she said, all right, it's my turn. That $7 million bridge is built because she put in the time. Didn't hurt that Drayton McLean was a sponsor of that project. But I'll tell you right now, but I will tell you right now, that $7 million, if it's discretionary money, and that story is deeper because there was more than discretionary money used for that project. But if you want the discretionary pot, that's decided locally. That's decided regionally. That's decided by the mayors of Killeen and Temple. And that's decided by city managers and others that sit on the technical committee. So my encouragement to you is to get engaged with that group, not so that you can have the project next year, because that's probably not going to happen. But you need to start nominating it if it's what this city wants. So let's talk about what it really costs to build a on-system project, and then I promise you I'll shut up and answer your questions. There's a 20% match. Now, I didn't do well in math, but 5 million, 20% is pretty easy for me. That means $1 million match. Number two, you got to pay the engineering. That's going to be not a small amount of money because you got to engineer it to TxDOT standards. And number three, you have to clear the right of way. So what does that mean? That means if there's any water lines, communication lines, electrical lines in the right of way footprint, you have to pay to move them or coordinate with the utility company to move them. Big picture, that means that if you want a $5 million circle, you're going to spend $1 to $2 million to get it. Now, does that mean that has to be what you ask for? No. It does mean you all have to have a conversation about whether you want a traffic circle or whether you want an enhancement to the existing intersection or whether you want dedicated turn lanes or whether you want whatever you want. But until you know that, you can't come to the board and ask. So you're going to have to workshop that and decide. TxDOT has gotten trying to think of a politically correct word. They're very sensitive to not having political buy-in in advance. TxDOT has learned that oftentimes they will spend lots of money engineering a project, and then the elected officials in a certain city will wake up and say, we never wanted that circle. And then there's no match, so there's no project, and now they've got these great plans that they spent millions of dollars getting done, and they go on the shelf. And so now they're gonna want to see in advance a letter from this council saying, we're dedicated to the right-of-way relocation. We're dedicated to the match money. And you've got a couple of years to come up with that, but Ryan can help walk you through that. Please. When you do your preliminary engineering, you would have to look at the adjacent land parcels, and TxDOT has right-of-way plans, and they pay for part of the right-of-way. They'll pay for a part of it as part of the 80-20 match that goes with that. But it all depends on the scope of the project. You know, we don't know how big of a circle you want or what engineering would tell you you'd have to have. Land purchase is a part of it. I mean, remember, we're talking generic dollars right now. We haven't engineered it on your behalf. We haven't even looked at the number of parcels. We haven't looked at the topography. All of that would be part of the preliminary feasibility study that would have to be done and would have to be submitted as a part of that process. So the good news is, if you stay in the game long enough and if you wait your turn, we're giving away $7 million every year. The bad news is, in order for you to get 5, it's going to cost you 1. And so, just in round numbers, please don't put that in the minutes that I said it'd be exactly $1 million.
Well, they will.
I know they probably will. And Dalton, you'll be coming looking for it, I know. But that's the way the process works because it's an on-system road. Off-system, I'll make you experts really easy. There's no money. That's all on you.
I appreciate that, appreciate all that information. personally, before we did anything, I'd like to have a workshop for the citizens of Morgan's Point to even see if they want, even if they want this thing or not. I mean, they're talking about, do you want a circle or any type of thing that it may cost you $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million? Is it that important to you, or would you rather see it on city streets?
Also, Matt's input on traffic accidents and safety and any concerns, that our citizens have for safety in that area too. So yeah, that's great.
And really just to kind of add on to that, to the letter that Dorothy had read that I kind of sent to council, this is a lot of the foundational side of building the relationships to the point of politics. I mean, it is politics to a certain extent. And so, for example, when we talked about the 2483 expansion, by looking at some of this on-network road and by taking a regional approach to things, we may be able to potentially tie in a project, such as a small system like this, because we've identified a regional need for IE 2483 to expand. So all those relationships that we built with or maintained and continue to maintain, is working with Temple, because if they buy in, then that's a benefit. If the school district buys in, so the more sponsors, the more political kind of reach you have, the more we can tie in some of these smaller projects and then reduce the engineering costs, over the course of time. And yes, it costs money, but at least it's a starting point, because the more buy-in you have, then you can try to use other people's money as well for these projects.
And there are other ways we can be creative, but I don't want to go down that path until this council decides this is what our citizens want. We can look at economic development grants that might be enhancements. We can look at transportation enhancement grants for beautification. I mean, Belton's has done in pavers. TxDOT has a lot of things that they will put into it, but they also have a lot of room for you to make it your own. And so if you decide to have a workshop, Ryan's got a mapping department. We can map it on a big map for you.
I would
We can
appreciate
overload.
that. We got some soul
overlay it.
searching we need to do before we go any further. So we appreciate your presentation. We were going to be relying on y'all a lot. I'm sure we're going to do something, but maybe with Temple, maybe with BISD, maybe with TxDOT, maybe with LOT, but let us determine.
It's a good option for us, right?
See where we stand before we go any further.
The good news is, though, your project wasn't rejected out of hand. So you got that step going for you. And number two, we do have discretionary dollars, which we haven't always had. So, we like to work with communities that, know what they want. And when you know what you want, let us know, and we'll try and help you get it.
Mr. Mayor, I have
Appreciate
a
your help.
real
Thank
quick
you.
question, if I could, sir. How do we get a seat at the table? You mentioned we need to have a seat at the table. How do we get that?
Oh, well, the first thing you do is you get the schedule of meetings from your Ryan, and you just attend. And pretty soon, people will see whoever is in the room, and when there's a vacancy, I don't have the bylaws memorized, otherwise and we can get them over to you. But, there will be vacancies. There are opportunities that come up, and typically they look around that room and they say, Dalton, you've been here for a while, and you've been sitting on the tack. You want to sit at the table? And that's how you get your seat. Now, some people have a seat by name, but you all don't because of the size of city that you are.
But you're also recommending that we have a council person.
I would
Dalton
recommend
is
if you can,
great,
yes.
But that the K-Tempo is made up of elected officials mostly.
Without getting too far down the road, there are two groups. There's a technical advisory group, which tends to be staff, but elected officials are always welcome. And then there's a policy board, and that is almost entirely elected officials.
I have one question for you also. As you were talking, I noticed that we talked about expanding 2483 down our way. Would those dollars be able to go for something like that instead of a roundabout if we wanted to?
Absolutely. What we would have to do is, first we need to know what your desires are. And then you go to TxDOT when we sit down and we start talking and we say, listen, Morgan's Point wants the intersection to look like this. What are you planning on doing with this road? And they may say, we're going to go 4 lanes, but 500 feet from the intersection, we're going to take it down to 2. Well, now we can have a discussion with them to say, listen, it's only 500 more feet. Why don't you take it all the way to the intersection? Because sometimes their formulas are driven by traffic counts. and they may say, we don't want to, they don't know whether the city wants to do anything with that intersection, so they may think they're accommodating you by narrowing it back to 2 lanes before it gets to you, when the opposite may be true. You may want the 4 lanes.
And really a real world example of that, you know, in the quarterly kind of meetings, a lot of it is just us talking and brainstorming and know where we all sit. So when we go to K-Tempo and the COG, we kind of have a plan. So we actually went and started with kind of Temple and the whole situation with Belton ISD, because that driveway was causing some issues. So the driveway didn't expand out, and so it merged into 2 lanes pretty quick, and we still have multiple accidents. So that started the conversation with 2483, which then led to kind of the quarterly meetings of saying, well, why don't we potentially look at different funding sources, federal, state, local, emergency type funds, and maybe we can look at expanding all of 2483 to a continuous left learn lane. So it started from a small project to a larger one. And one of the goals that we're going to look at that we kind of have just tentatively planned since we applied for the sidewalk grant, because that is a TxDOT-led program, if they go in and do that, we can, again, have those conversations with them and say, okay, now the sidewalk is a real issue in 2, 3, 4 years, whatever that turns out to be. Maybe this is the time that we start engineering for 2483 expansion and do it all at once. So all of these kind of conversations kind of lead and sometimes spiral into some bigger projects that'll help the city out and TxDOT also.
And what you really want to do with your sidewalk project, although you didn't ask my opinion, I'm going to give it, is you want to have an idea of what you want to do with that intersection before they build the sidewalks. Because if the sidewalks come first, you want to get on the record that you don't want the sidewalks to go right next to the existing road. You want the sidewalks to go around what you ultimately want to build. Now you are planting the seed to say, well, now you built the sidewalks and cleared the right of way. Now let's just build the road. So it's a part of being at the table. And so
I think that we hear that loud and clear. And I think Jimbo is going, okay.
So if we're going to table this for a workshop, I would like to request that we would have a report on the number of accidents that happened on that corner, number of injuries in like the last 3 to 5 years. Yeah, I figured there. Okay.
Yeah, there's very, you'd
But
be surprised.
I haven't,
Yeah.
so I would like to know. Yeah.
All you gotta do is call the police department.
Well, it'll be part of our workshop.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. It gives us food for thought, and you got a lot of thought.
thank you.
And I appreciate you being here.
Really appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you, Ryan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, but Roxanne, we can get that information very quickly for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
So do we just want to put that on a list for a workshop, or?
If you all want to.
I mean, it's, we're trying to balance healthcare costs for tomorrow and the future of our roads and safety and intersections, and so.
That one would be a good CIP one, probably for like end of year stuff, because
Okay,
we're going to be doing a whole capital improvement project thing.
Sounds great. Okay, good.
I would like to say we bring it up at that meeting then.
Adopting terms for Morgan's Point Resort City Council. The state legislature has allowed the city to determine if they want to stagger terms on cities that are not under home rule. Can't hear me? Hello?
There you go.
The state legislature has passed a law that allows the cities that are not under home rule, they could stagger their terms with the approval of the council. So I'm opening it up for discussion on adopting staggered terms for the city council of Morgan's Point Resort.
We're not a home rule city.
I said we're not a home rule. I said if you're not a home ruled city, you can still stagger their terms. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. If you're home ruled, you can already do it, but we're not.
Well, I have some comments.
Yeah.
I am for staggered terms. I think it makes sense, and this council right here, full sweep, is a perfect example of we don't want everyone turning over in the same year. But I'm with Donna. I haven't been able to find any guidance on this. And TML, Texas Legislature, Hugh Shine. So I want to table it until we can get some guidance on this. Because one option, Donna told me that when they got rid of staggered terms, They drew straws to see who kept their 2-year terms and who went for a 3-year term, as opposed to cutting it back to 1 year. 1 year, and we all in this room know, we've already been 2 months into this, and 1 year is not enough. We are putting in such a significant investment in learning and the city, and so I am not crazy about giving up a year of my term. But I do want to go to staggered terms, so I want to try to figure out a practical solution for that. And I haven't found one yet that's legitimate, that is, you know, like a precedent for us to look at. So, but if we decide to do it, we could do the 3-2 instead of the 2-1.
I don't think you can do the 3 because of, you can't do the 3 because of the plurality or at large.
Is there a time frame on when this has to be implemented? Could we, okay, so we could wait a year, and then we could say we're going to implement this with the 2025 election, and then the 2025 election, you either run for a 1-year term or you run for a 2-year term. Is that? So get through the 2025 election then, and then you draw straws. I understand that, and I'm not crazy about that option. So if we waited another year, we could serve all 2-year terms, and then we would figure out how to implement staggered terms beginning in 2025. But we'll approve it beginning of 2025.
If you waited to 2025, there's no guarantee you'd be elected, so who's going to draw straws?
The people who run, could
Yeah.
the people who are running for candidate would draw straws?
Can we do that to approve you to a future council?
Okay, that's,
At the time you decide to do it,
okay.
then all the council members draw straws. 5 of you do to see whether you have a 1-year term or a 2-year term.
But if we do it in our 2nd year, our terms are done.
Yes.
But what if we don't get reelected?
So you can't have a
Whoever gets
ballot.
voted- Okay, so whoever would get voted in our spot then would know that they were coming in for a 1-year term.
No, it would be,
3 of you would run for, there, 3
True.
of you would have their term that expired. So you either run for reelection or you don't. And anybody else that wanted to run for that election could run also. You'd be running for a 2-year term at that next election.
What she's saying is, so if we waited a year to do it, then all of our terms expire at the same time.
Well, then you'd, after the next council election, then you would draw straws to see who had a 1-year term and who had a 2-year term.
It would be on the new council ultimately to draw the straw.
Yeah, I think since we had a full sweep and huge changes, I'm not crazy about, and we went through home rule election, and then we went through, the May election, and I'm not crazy about going through another election in 2024 if we don't have to. We want to get to staggered terms. There's no doubt about it, but it's how we get there. So
I think if I can jump in here and do my little 3 minutes, staggered terms is best for the city, period. Or you end up with what we have right now, 5 people find their way. I think everybody agrees with that. People that were around for home rule know that I am absolutely pro staggered terms, and I think most of us are. In my mind, the long and the short is we're here for the citizens. Regardless of when I run for another election, if I get voted out, I get voted out. I've run, assuming we adopt staggered terms, it will be my 3rd election in 18 months. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If people want me out after a year, I'm out after a year. The long and the short is, when the city implements staggered terms, a council is going to have to draw straws, whether it's us or we hand it off to somebody else. So I guess my question is, what's the point in delaying? Why not us? If you serve a year, you serve a year. In my mind. Larry, I'll address that one. So the motion that I would put forward, and I'm not doing it just yet because we still have discussion, my motion will be to adopt staggered terms for the current council since the mayor ran unopposed, and since we need some sort of stability, I would encourage council, if we adopt staggered terms, to leave the mayor in place and let him run his 2 years. Is it legal? I don't know. Neil, is it legal or?
Two of us.
Yeah,
Why would it not be three would get the 2-year term and 2 would get the 1-year term?
Because then you would have 4 with the mayor. Yeah, and Donna, your question, and I've looked it up just because I was curious about when it actually takes effect. In section 2, it says it's immediate. So if we decided tonight that we are going to implement staggered terms, my assumption, Neil, is we draw straws tonight and we figure it out, and 3 of us are going to have to start planning another election.
The election would have to be called in January or February, whatever the.
I did write Representative Brad Buckley's office, and I got a response from Vanessa Tanner, I think is a person, and I said I just wanted clarification on when to do these staggered terms. And she gave me a response and said basically there's a provision somewhere that we could say hardship and make us go 3 years, but I read the article or ordinance that she said, and it sounded like it was really a stretch for us to do something like that. But she also went on to say, it's a long email, but she said, there's more information coming and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And so because of that, and because I haven't gotten a final email from her, I will state for the record that I am for staggered terms, but if we could table it for just 1 month, then I will, if we don't get any more response in a month, then we could do that. Okay, I'm going to move that we table it for 1 month, just in case I get more information that will be helpful for us.
Is the correct term to table it or to postpone it? I don't know. That's why.
Okay,
I thought I read in your cheat sheet that table meant if we
okay.
don't vote on it, it goes.
Let me correct. I move that we postpone this ordinance, I forget the name of it, for 1 month.
Okay.
Bring it up on the next agenda. Is that all right?
And I think it would be convenient if the 5 of us, 10 of us, whatever, could talk about it a little bit to decide,
I'll second that we postpone it
For 1 month.
for 1 month until we get further information about how other cities are implementing it. Right.
I'm a nay.
Not unanimous. Not unanimous.
Nay.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll kick this one off. So really, council had met in a kind of a preliminary strategic plan workshop. I don't think we did probably 4 or so hours. Thought it was really productive. A lot of great information kind of went around. We compiled all that information basically into we'll call it the report that you see here. Some points to note on it is the different kind of colors where we kind of put different options for titles, to kind of tie in everybody's visions, goals, or what they kind of wanted. And then we put kind of the description or the definition of what it kind of entailed, which then captures everything. And then, of course, the vision we gave, I think, maybe 3 or 4 options. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry. We gave some options. Again, This is a starting point. Again, we want feedback on this because, again, y'all are ultimately choosing this for y'all. Are we on track? Are we way off track? That's kind of where I'm at. So,
May I start?
Roxanne wants to go.
Mr. Mayor? May I start with some feedback?
you
Okay.
started.
Just wanting to check. I read through this and at the strategic planning meeting, we actually said, we're not doing strategic planning. We're just trying to set priorities. We're not ready for long-term 5-year plans. And so we kind of looked at it more like a prioritizing. There was no voting done. There was actually no minutes taken at the meeting. So this was kind of from memory afterwards. And so I didn't know I was going to be taking notes, but I'd written down several things. So I just wanted for report to say, just for clarification, in here you have Economic Development President Linda Bridges as part of the participating members, but I thought it was only staff and council and that she would have been a guest. Just clarification on that. Would she have been a guest?
yeah, I think
And not a participating member?
yeah,
So,
we can clean some of that up. Yeah, this is a draft. So
yes, and
yeah,
so
this
this is, I'm just kind of trying to clarify that.
And so, yeah, y'all don't have to approve this tonight. Again, we wanted to put it in front of y'all to discuss it kind of in an actual public meeting on, the goods, the bads, the uglies. Are we on track? Are we off track? Any kind of, we'll call it non-substantive stuff or things that we need to change. Absolutely. This is y'all's document. We just wanted to kind of present something from all of the sticky notes to make sure that we are at least capturing y'all's vision as a governing body. So that was kind of the intent.
The strategic plan is on the website, is that correct?
Not this one yet. This is the new one that's
not on there
this
yet.
is the preliminary one.
Okay.
I have a few more points and I'll do it within 3 minutes or less. Okay. The second thing is that it says the meeting was facilitated by our city manager, but actually was facilitated by Mayor Dennis Green. And he left at 11, and when he left, then I took over as Mayor Pro Tem and facilitated the remainder of the meeting. So I looked over, I had just written down things as we were talking, just to kind of, on my own notes, just the way I keep track of things. And we had a vision, the current vision statement that's in the current strategy that was written by previous council was your hospitality destination with endless possibilities. And as we discussed that, we thought, some of the conversation was we don't have endless possibilities. We're landlocked, and so people started talking, and I was just writing down what people were saying. And so the statement I wrote down after listening to my colleagues was, a vision statement would be something like a quiet and safe community that cares for neighbors and welcomes visitors. I remember us saying something to that effect, and I think a vision statement should be short. So just from my notes, I'm just sharing what I wrote. Then finally, when we started looking at priorities rather than strategies, I asked each of the council members to give us their top priority for the rest of the time. And those priorities I would like to see written in here. None of it, they were not voted on. We didn't even really comment on them. We were just listening to what the other council members were saying. And so in the first 5 listed here were presented by each of us 5 and different people. The first one was we have a quiet community. Let's keep NPR a quiet bedroom community. That was a priority of one council person. The next council person said they want to maintain and develop a disaster plan for Morgan's Point Resort, including plans for various potential disasters and escape routes, because we don't have that currently. The third council person said they were looking to protect our green space to preserve wildlife habitat and quiet living. The fourth council person said their top priority was financial accountability and transparency, including timely audit reports. And the fifth council person said implement infrastructure plan to assure we move forward with maintenance and upkeep of our city infrastructure, particularly focusing on the roads. And then in addition to that, we also talked about staffing, retention, communications to include healing of any divisiveness that may have occurred in this community. Because it seemed like after home rule, there was been a lot of divisiveness. And we as a council as a whole are hoping that we can help to facilitate healing of that. So that's my input.
Okay.
Real quick on that one. So one of the things that we tried to capture in this is we took the priorities that y'all did, and one of the things that we kind of talked about was developing that overarching kind of 4 to 6 goals, right? And how those tie in. And then within those kind of definitions, we kind of tie in exactly what Roxanne was saying. So we wanted to not just put them in like verbatim and literal, because kind of, I think at the very end, what we had talked about was find something that these 4 to 6 goals encompass as a whole. And then we go to the department heads once those are approved. And then we start working on what the task-oriented process kind of looks like. And in that way, we can make sure that from the council side, it's council focusing on setting the policy, setting the direction of the city, setting that vision. And then once we go into that, then the departments will set their goals, objectives, and tasks that fulfill the goals of, or the vision of the city. So we can add them verbatim if you want. You start adding more than 4 to 6 goals, it does get complicated, because then we have to figure out what those tasks. So for example, we tried to take like a bedroom community, for example, and tie that into an actual, we'll call it a mini vision or a strategy, because I guess the question is what's a task that you can do to keep it a bedroom community? Like what's an obtainable goal, or what's an obtainable objective that we can do to keep it? And so as you're kind of thinking about this in the notes, when we kind of come back, think about those things. We don't want you to dive into the weeds from the task perspective, but as you're looking at this, how can we make sure that our teams can implement something that is achievable within those strategies? So that was kind of the intent behind this.
Yeah, so my reaction too was, I think we need to workshop this. I think we need another workshop on the priorities and the operational plan. We spent 5 hours at the workshop. We only spent 45 minutes, and it was at the very end when we were brain dead, to come up with priorities. We never got to finalize the priorities. We didn't even touch on goal setting as to, what direction we want to take with it, and certainly didn't come up with any measurements on goals. I think it was a successful half a day, and I loved working with all the department heads, but we've scratched the surface on
This is
this.
a draft.
No, but but it needs to be,
Got to be fine tuned. We realize that.
it's probably needs to be, reworked, yeah.
We're not voting on anything.
No, I'm suggesting
Presentation, yeah.
that we take it to a
We need
workshop.
to look at it in one of our workshops, which we've got several of them to be looking at.
Do we not have a plan to, in the fall, have a strategic planning retreat? Did I misread that?
That one is going to, again, it's tentative now. We will set the dates, as we start getting closer. But ideally, kind of the vision we would kind of want to put for y'all is doing a 2-day workshop or retreat type thing. Really, the first day is focusing on exactly it. Have a facilitator from the outside come in, similar to what they did before, work through the whole process to include those priorities. And really, what this is going to do is the goal would be to have each department kind of have their 1, 3, 5 kind of year concepts or ideas, but we don't want to just frivolously do that. We want to make sure that we align those with y'all's vision and strategy. And so we got to make sure from the council side, we look at strategy. If the goal is safe parks, then we can then bring y'all plans on what potentially those safe parks could look like and how we're going to achieve those goals and the vision of those safe parks. Bedroom community is just an example of finding those attainable goals. So really got to get it down to kind of 4 to 6, and that's why we try to wrap it up into kind of strategies that we can then, once those strategies get set, we can then task our directors to come up with achievable, attainable goals.
I think what I'd like to look at is, this was a first meeting of the 5 of us thinking about what do we think that we want the city, how do we think we can represent the citizens on where we want the community to go, what is the goal of the future of the city. And I think that it was a great workshop, don't get me wrong, but I think it was so preliminary that we're still, we're blind people touching the elephant, trying to figure out if it's a dog. And so, yeah, this was a great first start, but I mean, it's like that deep.
Exactly.
We're gonna
And
need a lot of workshops for the 5 of us, and with other input, obviously from the community. We need town halls and that kind of stuff. And I know that time's running out because, we gotta get through the summer and then the strategy workshop.
yeah, and those are just some of those unprecedented things. Working with the sweep elections, those add just those unique challenges that we just have to work through. So yeah, absolutely, this is a continuous, fluid, ongoing document.
I think the key is coming up with our priorities so that we can marry our budget, so we can monetize the priorities of the city into the 23-24 budget. So,
You want to try to have the workshop before budget?
no,
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be simultaneous. to be
Okay, I was gonna say, I think
perfectly
with budget should come probably,
And really, in all honesty, based off of that half a day, while y'all may or may not see it yet, a lot of the visions and stuff that y'all had and the ideas are stuff that the directors have already been doing. So I don't think that we're going to be very far off from the budget side on y'all's visions and goals. I think y'all are going to. I think it's aligned pretty well. So.
I just want to emphasize that we want input. We need a town hall, or we need an open meeting where we can all present ideas and try to make sure that we're not myopically trying to decide, okay, I think this is a great idea and that's what I'm going to push. That's not what I want to do. I want to be the representative of you guys so that, not everybody's going to get the same kind of cake that they want, but at least we're talking about cakes versus pies.
Maybe we can have a town hall on the budget before it's finalized.
Well, I would like to have
And that way they
make
can
sure that
see.
we're all in the
Yeah.
headed towards the same thing before we start putting money. And I think a town hall, the only problem I see is that everybody's so busy in the summertime. And, some of us don't have kids to go back to school, but, a lot of people have kids going back to school in September. And who knows, maybe things will slow down enough that we can do town halls and just have a 2 or 3 hour block of time to do whatever we talk about and bring your input. That's what I'd like to see. I am divinely inspired. I understand that, and I have all the right answers. But even Kathy doesn't agree with that. She says, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got some tentative dates I think we can look at.
Well, the only thing I'd like to toss in there, Mr. Mayor, and Dalton, I'll defer to you and the staff on this one, but I would definitely like to see this posted if you guys think it's applicable or it's in shape to post for the citizens to read with a big fat draft.
Okay, I was going to.
Yeah, and I'll defer that to you.
No, I would recommend not posting anything until it's official, even in draft form. And then, yeah, that would be my recommendation. Not post it until it's official. Sweet, I cut it down. I only got a 45-minute report. No, the only thing I'm going to talk about on updates on is obviously everybody who's driving down 2483, you can actually see the tower going up. So even though it's the contractors and everything, Jesse and his crews have been diligent and dedicated a lot of time out there, just again, making sure that things are taken care of and good. So we're making progress on that. And if you haven't driven by that way, go check it out. It's looking good and we're making some progress. So.
And the switchover that happened a couple weeks ago was extremely successful, seamless.
Yes.
And we didn't feel a thing water-wise, and so that was Herculean. And I know it took a lot of planning to do that without us feeling anything.
Carrie, where'd Carrie go? Oh. Oh, welcome back. You look refreshed.
Yes, I gave each of y'all a handout. The second page, the one that has number 25 at the bottom right, that was the original.
Hey, put the mic in your mouth.
Okay. Talk loud enough. The original, there was 2 pages that I handed to each of the council. The second page was from the January council meeting when council decided to switch accounting firms to Brooks Watson. So this was their original timeline for the two audits. So really there was some behind the scenes stuff going with that. So when we did it, the February 14th, the next council meeting, we had a budget amendment that approves an additional software to help us with the audits and some consulting. So really, the original timeline presented by Brooks Watson was going to be kind of based on some back office, or when we were talking to them, knowing that there were some kind of variables up in the air. So really, in April, we were able to go live in the test environment of this other software. So then the other part was then in May, we entered in with a consulting firm that is then trying to get the books brought up to the 2020 year. So the biggest hang up on that is in 2020, we switched banks from Texas State Bank to Horizon. And so a lot of the accounting transactions during that time were not recorded correctly. The dollars weren't off, it's just they weren't recorded the way they should have been. So the problem with the software that we currently use is it's tough to go back and change those. So the software that I asked for, able to do this, we're able to go and change the transactions to match what actually reflected in the bank statements. So really with the original timeline, so both the audits were supposed to be done by September 30th. So knowing that it was going to take a while for the consultants and me to get to the beginning trial balance for 2020, so they would have a baseline year. Really, I think, and so Dalton and I had a conversation with our auditor on Friday, so we asked him to kind of give us an updated timeline. So really, right now, if you look at the first page, really what he's done is he's shifted it about 2 weeks. So really, our biggest thing is I'm working with the consultants daily, weekly, you know, as they have questions. But so we have given all the auditors all the PBC items that they needed, which is prepared by client, except for the trial balance. So as soon as we get the trial balance with the bank recs, they're going through 2020, which with the consultants, they think they should be able to have the 2020 and 2021 by the end of this month.
You said 2 weeks, you meant 2 months, right? Because it was July, and now it's September, right?
Well,
2020?
yeah, well, so the end date on here says prior to September 30th. So ignore kind of the original, like, you know, the May 15th to May 15th.
Oh, no, I'm looking at the June completion of the beginning balances.
Right, but so if you look at the very bottom date on there, so they were going to present the audits at September 30th. So if you look at page 1, the very last one is 10/20. So really, right now, they've kind of pushed it back about 2 weeks. So.
Okay, so we're
Right, but so
couple months behind, but we're going to catch up.
Right, so that was kind of when we had the discussions with them, knowing there was a lot of things up in the air, that then as we get closer to the target, they were going to, you know, they had built in some fluff even in the original one. So if you read the very top of it,
That's fantastic.
he's trying to make sure that he has all the staff. But so really the next one, when I get the email response, I will kind of forward y'all that one, because really what he was trying to look at, because he was on holiday and then I was on vacation, but really what we want them to do is make sure they're ironing out the dates that they're going to be here. And so as soon as we know that, because they can do a lot of this stuff, you know, not here on site, but when they're here, we will let y'all know. So that way, then we can say, yes, you know, they had to shift it over 2 weeks, but really right now we're kind of on this updated schedule. So really for me, it'll
fantastic
just be whenever he gets that kind of final timeline, because when we talked to him on the phone, we kind of want him to come down and do the interim testing around next council meeting. So he's trying to make sure he can fit it in his schedule, but that way, it sounds a lot better coming from the auditor than from me.
Yeah, I would love for them to come to the August meeting.
Yep.
Yes.
That's our goal.
Okay, fantastic.
And hopefully he has to fit it into.
Because they're new auditors, and yeah, it would be good if they met the new council.
I have a question that, for clarification, we can anticipate having the audits completed by the end of September?
No. So on the second page, it would be October 20th.
October 20th.
Okay. So you should have 2 pages. So the page 1 is the new timeline. So page 2 was the original timeline that was in the January council packet.
So we'll have the 2021 audit done by September 8th and presented, and we'll have the final audit on 21-22 by October 20th.
According
I love it. Okay.
Except that would be the same thing. If y'all want them to present it at a time, obviously they're not local, so it might be a little bit more. So even if we have the report, but so I mean we can figure that out. That's kind of to be determined, but that's their time.
If they send us a letter and say they're absolutely complete,
Yes, no, I
Okay.
mean I still think they would give us the report. It just wouldn't be that they would come present it at council. So.
that's terrific. Thank you very much. Yes. I know. Yeah, exactly. Oh, can I ask real quick on Dalton's city manager updates? When can we anticipate a draft of the comprehensive plan for us to look at? Because I know they had vision in there, and there's a lot of stuff I think that would help us with our operating plan and with the strategic planning process.
Yes.
And I know it's dense.
No, great question, and thank you for bringing that up. So no, actually, we just had a meeting. I don't know what planet I'm on or what day it is, but we had a meeting, I think, the last couple days or last week. So right now, we're looking at the rest of this month. We're going to be getting the steering committee together. We should have a draft and everything. So really, the goal over the next, we'll say 2 months, we're trying to have the final draft so that way everybody has enough time to review it. Enough time for review everything.
Maybe by September.
September is our goal. So we're working on the back planning right now of that to make sure that we have all the right people to review it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a gem.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Esther, you have anything to report? Would like to report?
My first thing to report is that we are ordering rechargeable batteries. Just put that order in while we were here. So in the communications department, at the beginning of this month, I attended the TML conference. That's the Texas Association of Municipal Information Officers. Attended some really valuable trainings there and networked from some professionals across the state. Those connections that I made there have already paid off, and I've created some partnerships that I think will be really valuable for us. The city manager and I participated in a listening study with Dr. Ashley English through TCU. She is one of their associate professors on public communications, and she's currently doing some research on listening from the city manager and PIO point of view. It seems like listening is something that we all really value right now, so I thought that would be really valuable for us to participate in that study. And then we also discussed with her some opportunities for us to continue that partnership with her so that she can help us strategize effective listening techniques. Believe it or not, town halls are not always the best way to listen to our constituents, because oftentimes the strategies that cities tend to use historically really only capture the loudest voices in the room, and they tend to capture the same voices over and over again. And so she's doing some really valuable research into strategies that we can use that will actually capture the majority opinion. And so we're going to work with her so that she can make some recommendations to us, and we can figure out effective strategies so that we can listen to everyone and not just continue to listen to the same loud voices. And then obviously we began to work on the draft for the preliminary strategic work plan, and obviously that needs some work. We also finalized some branding and style guidelines. Those branding and style guidelines don't change anything. All they do is create consistency. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I've certainly noticed, there are about 5 different versions of our city logo floating around. There's about 3 different versions of that logo on our cars. And then the one when you're driving in is different than all the other ones. So all we're working on right now is trying to make sure that we have those high quality files. We also didn't have any high quality files that we could provide to vendors when we were ordering things with our logo. So we worked on making sure that we had high quality files and that we had some guidelines for how we use that consistently across the board, not changing anything about what we're already doing, just making sure that we are using things consistently so that, hopefully we can start to see a little bit more of a recognizable brand for the city of Morgan's Point, ultimately with the goal that we want to encourage community pride. We also began coordinating with city management on crisis communications, and we began creating a plan for how to develop a crisis communications plan. Obviously, that needs to involve department heads, specifically our police and fire departments. And that's most likely going to be a pretty long process to actually develop that crisis communications plan. And so we've begun that process, figuring out how we're going to go about developing that plan. The fantastic news for the second annual Summerfest, this was our first experimentation in paid promotion on Facebook. We paid $20 to promote the event, and from that paid promotion, that resulted in a reach of 4,500 target audience members, 216 post engagements, and 19 event shares. Ultimately, we estimated approximately 5,000 attendees at the event, which is a significant growth of 143% from last year's estimated 3,500. The food trucks sold out somewhere between 8:30, some as late as like 9 or 10 p.m. And I know that can cause some frustration. However, we do want our food trucks to sell out at this event. It's not good business for them if they come and they don't sell out. So we do kind of aim that we hope they sell out somewhere around the end of the event. Obviously, we continue to have to adjust for higher attendance, and we want to make sure that everyone can get fed. But it is a really great sign that our food trucks sold out. We had one of our vendors informed us that she had sold out for the first time ever at an event. So that was really great. And then our pop-up vendors also reported really satisfying sales. We have been focusing on trying to increase our reach on social media. We want to make sure that as many residents as possible are seeing the information that we're putting out from the official city Facebook and other social media sites. In the past month, our reach increased 370.9% over the previous month. Instagram reach increased 158. Our page visits increased significantly as well, and there's a little bit more information in here. So right now, we're really trying to make sure that word is getting spread to as many people as possible. We are still definitely looking into other avenues that will capture audiences on other platforms, especially the very long process of trying to figure out how to get a paper newsletter out there, because we want to make sure that we're capturing the young, the middle-aged, and the elderly population. Right now, Facebook is a really great place to catch as many people as possible, so we're working on reach. And then from there, we're going to try to figure out engagement and spreading awareness of crucial information. We've also begun the early stages of focusing on some educational short-form video content. So me and Taryn collaborated, and a few other members of our fire department are collaborating with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Wardens to produce a series of short-form videos on drowning prevention and open water safety. So you guys will start to see some of those videos coming out on the fire department's sites. And then I've also begun a collaboration with the city manager and chief financial officer to begin early development of some short form video series that would be educating residents on the city budget process. Because we recognize that ultimately, bottom line, people care where their tax dollars go, and city budgets are really difficult to understand. I am learning about all of it for the first time, so I'm a great test audience, and we're working on a way that we can make that information more accessible to residents so that we can have empowered residents who can make educated decisions. So that's a lot of what's going on right now, and yeah.
I have a real quick question. Yeah, well, you're doing a lot of stats on social media, which is awesome, and the numbers are just, incredible. And I'm wondering if you've looked at the Google Analytics on the website.
Yes, I didn't include that in this report, so I don't have those numbers for you right now. We can
play around with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We can make sure to include that in future months.
Especially what people are searching for on the website.
Yeah, and
that
we're
will help us figure out what the residents are interested in too.
Yes, and our website certainly needs some Jesus. So we've been taking a look at our contract with Civic Plus, taking a look at what options we have to clean up the website, make it more accessible for everyone. So that is definitely a huge priority for us.
Okay, good, thank you.
Just for my own curiosity, you said you were posting on the government Facebook web page?
Yes, ma'am.
And others?
So we
what
have,
others are there?
Yeah, so the official accounts that are currently run by the city, we have the City of Morgan's Point City Government Facebook page. and an associated Instagram page. We also have the fire department and the police department have their own Facebook and Instagram pages. We do have a Twitter account. We're not using it right now because Twitter is not a worthy investment right now because it is very volatile. There is no route for us to be verified on Twitter. We're waiting and seeing when it comes to Twitter. So we haven't been investing in that. We're just kind of letting that be. But those are the only official pages that are city affiliated.
Would you ever, just for information, put something out on the friendly neighbors of Morgan's Point that it's not an official government website?
It is not an official government page. We've informed all department heads and volunteers that we want to make sure that we are posting official information from our accounts so that people know where to find official information. And then if anyone wants to share that from our page to the neighbors page, just to spread awareness, they're more than welcome to. But we're trying to stop posting things directly onto the neighbors page because we want to make sure that people know where they can find information they trust.
Sounds great. Thank you. He just does his job very well.
I didn't forget you. I tried to put you in front of me. You're you know. All right, so not much to report on our side. Less than 3 minutes for sure. So just open transparency for a police department. So I have a standard in place that's been in place since I've been a supervisor at this department. That our response time to calls is under 5 minutes. That's a personal standard. That's not something that's set by the city. That's not something that's been set by citizens. That is my personal standard. And we've been holding true to that. Every now and again, we will exceed that time frame. So you gotta think into account that we still are a small department. So during the day, we may have 1 to 2 people available that you see, like myself or sergeant, but we may not be actually answering calls. So that may still be held by a 1 person on the street job answering a call. Now, granted, with that in mind, we may have 2 people that are out there, maybe 3 that are answering calls, but keep in mind, even down to the lowest number of a single officer on the street, we're still responding to calls at less than 5 minutes. So that gives you an idea of how responsive we are to our city, and yet still be able to dedicate time to our citizens to get down to the root of the problem where we're not just taking a report, we are actually trying to figure out the cause and a solution for that cause. So I pride myself on that, except for the fact that for the second month, not in a row, but and then the second month over the last couple of months, we've exceeded that time. So we're over at 5 minutes and about 5.31 minutes. So still, like I said, we're very responsive, but not to my standard. I've found measures, received data, and I'm going to dive into that data. I just got that data back today. I'm going to dive into that to figure out where individually I need to address our concerns to bring that response time back down to under 5 minutes. Again, that's my pride. That's providing the most services to the citizens. That's what y'all deserve. So again, open transparency. That's in my report. Good things are we have received 7 mobile radar units through a grant, the Southwest Border Rural Law Enforcement Program. We just received 7 of those radar units. They will be replacing our radars that we currently have in our vehicles with upgraded version of that radar. So we can attack more traffic issues that way. So those will be going in the next couple of months. And then we want to congratulate Officer Michael Nipper. Officer Nipper has been with the city now, he's been a peace officer with the state of Texas for 18 years now. So he's couldn't be here tonight, but we want to congratulate him for that. And then just one announcement. I'm trying to keep my number under 19 people because I have a bet. But So I might lose this by announcing this, but Coffee with a Cop is tomorrow, 7 a.m. at, yeah, yeah. The bet is, so if we exceed 19, then we will do a weekend style event to attract different clientele. I'm trying to keep that, you know. We have to build the current event we're organizing before we try to think of something else, right? You know, I mean, you know, so that's my goal. Anyway, Coffee with a Cop tomorrow, 7 a.m. at the police department, fire department. No donuts this time unless you want to bring them. I'll eat them.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Hey, Matt, I have
We'll,
one quick question.
see you tomorrow morning. Yeah. See you tomorrow morning. Yeah.
First of all, you guys do a great job, and the 5-minute thing is astonishing to me. That seems like lightning fast. I'm curious, in a town our size and with our landmass, what is the response time? And you may not even know it, but what is the average response time? Because you guys do an awesome job. I'm just curious, like what are other like a town like Salado, probably close to our size, like.
Oh, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but you know what?
I'm trying to put you under the spot.
Yeah,
I was just curious.
they're easy obtainable. They're easy obtainable, and so not a problem. I can delve into that.
Yeah.
That's just a standard that I've put in place. It didn't come from any source or anything like that. It's just
good standard. You guys do a great job.
Doing good.
Just have one question. You had like in your stats, I'm a stat person, you know, you had like 900 calls. And the first one was building check, 265. For my edification, what's a building check?
Yeah, so your first couple that you will see probably are going to generally be every month. They're going to be building checks, area checks, and then you're going to have house watches. And so the top 4 will usually be traffic spots somewhere in there. Those are usually going to be your top 4. So building checks, we provide a service to our to our businesses, sorry, not our residents, to our businesses, that every night, and it depends on weekends, it might get checked more than twice, that depending if the business is open or not. We check all the doors and the windows on all the businesses. And so if we find the door open, we will leave a notice if it's something that we can secure ourselves. If it's not something we can secure ourselves, we will make a call to a key holder and have somebody respond out that night, or at least get their buy-in to say, hey, okay, I'm okay with leaving the back door open. Generally, that's not the case, but every now and again at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, we might get it. And so we check that, and that time varies. So it could be early on in the evening. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning. It's completely random. And the order in which it takes place is completely random. So that's city buildings and businesses in the city.
Okay.
And then, of course, your house watches, your vacation watches. And
House watch is great. I use it all the
I
time.
do too.
And,
Thank you.
yeah.
And then area checks are just checks of parks, the marina, the Clypeus Park here, the pool, any place that we're going to get out and do foot patrol or anything like that, drive through that are kind of specific areas.
Thank you, sir. You be careful out there.
Yep.
We thank you every. The house watch, I recommend everybody, anytime you're gonna be out of town, they will watch your house. That's a good idea. Jesse, I told you, you wanna do anything, or did Dalton give you your report? You're good?
I'm good.
Carrie, do you have anything to add, anything you wanna add, Carrie?
I have something real quick
Yeah.
that the citizens
ma'am.
brought up on the, and Ronnie's not here, but on the marina. So do we need to do anything to address the ramp because the lake is so down that there's a gap between?
We are, it is.
And then
it
the
is-
steps.
It is on our radar, and so we are looking
Okay.
at options to make sure that we do it appropriately. We build it in a way that's gonna obviously last and within a budget. So we are, that is on our radar.
Okay, so
Bo-
that's
both-
more
both-
maintenance. Okay,
Both,
perfect.
yeah, both the stairs and the
Got work orders and-
thingy-majigger, yeah. we're-
Okay,
we're
thank
working
you.
on
Okay, thank you. Are we going to talk about future agenda items? Oh, so you don't want to go over them here to make sure people agree? Okay. Let me see.
We didn't talk roads yet.
So that was my fault. I own that one. Whenever I did the city manager updates and I put it in, I forgot to leave that one off. We can technically tie that under the maintenance report because in their maintenance report now they are doing roads.
And thank you for the maintenance report.
Yes. So under the maintenance report, yes. So my apologies on that one. It is a standing one, and I dropped the ball on that one. So under maintenance report, yes, roads. If you want to go into the assessment piece and kind of talk that.
Okay. So the city council met yesterday for the day and with the specific, two things to discuss. One was we talked about the Parks and Rec committee that we were going to implement, kind of work through some of that. And the second thing was about the roads and what our next step might be for the roads. So then we also got to view the various departments and we got to see the big water pumps and all that. So it was fun. And that SCADA report, now I know what that is. And so we were pretty impressed with that. And the police station, and I got to shoot a Glock. But it wasn't a real one.
Okay. Yeah. Not a real
It
one.
wasn't a real one.
Simulator.
So, okay, see,
Sorry.
it was the first time I've shot since I was 16 years old, so that was a long time. Okay, so on the road discussion, we looked at the city of Morgan's Point had 2 road assessments that were done. The first one was back in 2014, and it was a very thorough assessment, including traffic counts, identified all the collector roads. Collector roads are the main roads that you drive through to get to the roads everybody has to take to get out of town. And so we looked at that, and it was very well written. The engineer, I don't remember who it was, but it was 9 years ago to this month that report was submitted. And I noticed on the report, I just wanted to give a kudos to BJ, because BJ went around with the engineers, and they together made this very thorough report on our infrastructure. It included water, it included drainage, it included roads, and so it was very beneficial, I felt, because in 9 years we've added a few communities, but those all have good roads, and so we were still able to use that report. So then the second thing that we did ahead of time is we went to, I got a call from Texas Asphalt Associations, and they recommended that we look at a site called SaveMyRoads.com, and I did go to that. It's powered by Ergot Paving in Waco, but it's a national company, and they went through what that website said and what the 2014 report said were the same things. The basic premise was you don't start with your worst roads in the little edge of the community first. You start with your main roads and you preserve those roads. And so it's a preservation, because in the long run, it will save you money. If you keep the roads that are not used very much may be bad, but they won't get much worse if they're hardly used. The roads that are used frequently may be in moderately good condition, but if we do something now to preserve that road, it could save us a whole lot of money down the road. So we kind of agreed on that, and we took the 2014 plan and we looked at all this, what they called, we call them feeder roads, but they're collector roads is the term that was used. And as we drove around, we came up with 9 different areas that we feel the city should address. And I have a list of them. I'll just read them real quickly if anybody wants to know. Number 1 was Sherwood, Cliffwood, Driftwood, Clearwater. And this is not in order of importance. It's in order of where we started and went. The second one was Morgan's Point Resort Boulevard. Third one was Morgan's Point Road from the boulevard to the cliffs at Lake Belton. The rest is county road. That's our road. Then we looked at Cheyenne Trail and Calamity, because that leads to the marina. We looked at Tanyard, Oakmont Circle, that leads to Oakmont Park. We looked at Bonnie Lane, although we did say that's that's such a confusing thing because it's owned by multiple people. So we don't recommend that one at this point. We looked at Sobranti, Branding Iron, Wrangler, and Cedar Trails. And these roads appear to be in fairly good condition. So also we were thinking maybe we won't recommend those at this point. Then we looked at Lake Forest Drive, Shetland, and Fox, and all of those lead out to North Ridge Park, or North Ridge, and then to 317. Then we looked at Great West Loop and Cottonwood Loop, and those were what we would call the collector roads or the feeder roads. So after some discussion, I was hoping we could vote on tonight, but it wasn't put on the agenda. But after some discussion, I think that as council, we all agreed that getting some requests for proposals for those major roads and have the companies come in. Many of these road construction companies they can assess those roads and they can give us a good evaluation. If we got several people to put in their bids, then we could see what their recommendations were, if they are all the very same, and we could just look at, similar, what their references are and things like that. Then we could go forward with these collector roads and start. Then also, okay, then also, we just mentioned too, there was some ribbon drainage that Dalton showed us where you have the cement along the side that could be aesthetic. It could also help to preserve the road from falling off. And then the final thing is that we as a council realize that if we go forward with these roads, it's going to tell our community we are serious about it, we want to get it done, but we're not saying we aren't going to be needing updates and maybe current further studies or updating our current studies in the future. And so just because we rejected the study last couple months ago or whatever that was, doesn't mean that we wouldn't revisit that. And we'll just see how this goes and we'll get started and then go for that. And then we just, as a council, I think we voice appreciation to all the departments for letting us come and see their places and show off their stuff. It was very fun. So, thank you.
Dalton, quick question. Are we still on tap next month to have the, RAS and the other survey that we talked about? Are we still working that?
Yeah, the initial plan was to have it in August, unless y'all want to change it based off of these findings. These findings, once we go through them, as I kind of told y'all yesterday, it's not going to be until September to be able to get the engineering and all the stuff that we would need to RFP it. So that is up to y'all.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is a start. I think we all agree to that. I'm still very much pro study from outside professional companies, so I'd like to continue to address that personally.
Well, I agree with you, and the question's timing. So, for me. So, we've got a lot going on in August and September with the budgets. And Dalton, you're going to go out for bid on these roads, and that's going to consume some time. We've got to get the audits done. So what is realistic? October, we're going to do strategy. November, we're going to do CIP. Does it make sense with the CIP? And
Yeah, it does, but
I mean, we don't want to delay it a year.
yeah, no, it does, but, since this is generally just, collecting, I hate this microphone, just getting us some ideas on different surveys. I think that's what we were talking about. And that's what I would like to see is just some professional surveys. I'm not a road engineer, so,
I agree.
yeah. So, and in my mind, again, the sooner we move, the better, so.
I'd like to be noted too that we do have a study from 2021 from CES that addresses many of the things on the roads that that was
A lot of
not even
them
2
were
years ago.
implemented, yeah, a lot of them were implemented, and then BJ split it between, we can fix these and these need more. So we took a look at the ones that BJ couldn't deal with that need more, and that was part of our process yesterday. So yeah, 2021 was the last, quote, study, right. Thank you.
No, I thought the workshop yesterday was wonderful, and I agree. Let's get something done, and let's look at having somebody somebody come in and help us with that. I think that kind of depends upon when we get
results back from what we decided yesterday to do, or not decided, but talked about doing yesterday. So, Jim, to your point, yes, I want to have a study. I want a database to work off of. It may not be quick because we need to get that other stuff done first, rather than, and use that to build on. Other than that, anything, and I mean, we want as much input from the community as possible. And sometimes some of us aren't as quick on the delivery of an answer. A lot of stuff we can't do a whole lot on a one-by-one basis, just because of rules that some of us had no idea existed. It's not because we're being obstinate or being stupid. It's some of us did not understand Texas open meeting laws, and they're scary. So please bear with us. We're not trying to ignore you. Just trying to be. We don't want you to go to jail.
You know, I think I'll just echo that yesterday was really great, and I think it was really awesome to see all the different departments. I think this is a journey. We are all learning as we're going. Be patient with us. I think also that we're taking this, every one of us is taking this very serious, because ultimately we are representing citizens of Morgan's Point, and that's why we're sitting there. So that's what I got.
Good night. Second.